Hey folks, Dave here in Studio B. Just jumping on real quick here on a Friday night. I was gonna play something, but it was a long day. I was at the rink at 5:30 this morning and pretty much went all day with different things. I had two YouTube movie readings today. Usually they send me one, they sent me two. So I had to do that. I had to shovel today too when I come home from the rink. So I got home at 9 a.m. from the rink and I had a lot of work still ahead of me. So I think I ended up working from 5 to, I don't know, 2:30 or 3 today. It was a long day. And then I just finished some more work. But anyway, enough of the work stuff. I thought I'd come on and say hi. I was going to play a game. And I was like, oh man, I just don't know if I want to set something up and get into it because I'm getting kind of tired and I got to work again tomorrow. So I figured I'd come on and chat. A couple things I did want to chat about though. First thing is, see this box? You know what's in this box? Cards. I got some Hockey Bones cards. Okay, I got some Hockey Bones cards that I got back in December. Okay, when the 81-82 season come out. No, it was the 72 Summit Series that come out, and I grabbed 81-82 and something else. Oh, shootout cards. I haven't done an unboxing for it. I haven't even unboxed it. It's still sitting there, and it's been about a month. So I haven't unboxed anything in a month. That's kind of how it's going. The other thing is I love these things here. Okay, these are basically, see the little L brackets, and I'm going to show off the studio. I'm going to do a video in the studio here at some point, and these things clip. Okay, so these little things here, they clip, and what I do is I have them off to the side over here. You can't see them; they're off screen, and that's what I clip my cheat sheets. And when I'm playing season ticket baseball, that's where I put the pictures. I have the pictures right there. And they're awesome. And you know something? I don't know where I got them, and I can't find them. I've been scouring the internet. I've been scouring Staples and Target. I can't find these things, and it's like, come on. This, I don't know why I can't find those things anymore, but I can't find them. And I think they were kind of expensive too, but I want to buy some more so I can have some here and I can have some in Studio B as well. But so I can't find them. I haven't unboxed my Hockey Bones yet. It's just been quite a crazy few weeks there, going from rink to rink to rink. In fact, I think I told you I forgot to go to a rink one night. The guy sent me a message that says, "Can't wait to see you at the game." And I says, "I'm going to bed. You ain't seeing me." I didn't know I was on the schedule. I think I told that story, but anyway. P-Jet dropping by, and he says he's playing Stone Cold. Pretty good so far. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked that game. I like it. I haven't played it in a few months now. We played that. As you know, me and Ron, we're play testing that, and I played so much of that. And I just when the game finally released, it was great, and I'm happy with it. And I was just like, oh man, because Ron was kind of looking for the glitches, and I was trying to set up the aesthetics and how it looked, and I was pretty adamant about what I was looking for in a hockey game, and I pretty much got it. Richard did a fantastic job. Gary was on board with all my changes, but it just was so tired. Of that game because I just burnt myself out on. I need to go back to it though. Then they released a new season, so I need to plug that in. Was it 67, 68? So that should be fun. But I'm in a baseball mood too right now. So I haven't played Stone Cold in a while because I've been playing mostly baseball. I don't know why. Probably because the digital diamond, that whole interface is fantastic. And then the season ticket is, oh my gosh, I don't know why. I really, really like season ticket. Fenner stops by. Could be watching during a lunch break. That's great. I work weird hours too. I'm not sure where you are in the world or if you work weird hours, if you're not the 9 to 5 guy, but I work crazy hours. I work mornings, nights, afternoons. I could be at the rink in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night. So I'm all over the place. And I catch stuff too. In between periods, I'll get on my phone. I'll watch YouTube. So good to see you there. Philip Reynolds stopping by as he's trying to get the Dayton Bombers some more wins. They're the Cleveland Spiders of the fictional league. That's kind of fun. And Smelly Wrestling Geek, you have the 2021 season for Hockey Bones. It's just taking up space at this point. Yeah. I don't know if you saw the meme that I posted today on Facebook. I don't know if you guys are on Facebook, but it's you ever seen the meme of Vince McMahon when he's like looking and he's like, yeah, he's like, oh, and he's like, ah, it's that meme there. And it says, when you find a new game, when you find out that it has your favorite season, you buy the game in a bunch of seasons. It arrives in 2 days. And the last one says, and you put it on the shelf with all your other unplayed games. That's kind of how it went. So the stuff takes up space. So again, this is taking up space. It's not even out of the box. not even out of the box. And I've been meaning to play either Bones or App, but I just haven't got to it. You want to order 6768, but you're getting virus alerts. No, this shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. The only issue they had is if you have Comcast email, they were having problems sending the newsletter to Comcast emails. Comcast was flagging it as spam. I'll check with Gary to see what's going on with that, but I haven't seen it. And Smelly Wrestling, did you play Bones? I like Bones. Bones is really fun. So, but the thing about Bones, I talk about that. I like it, but I can play a period at a time. Then I got to take a break because it's such a thinking man's game. There's a lot to think about. And I don't know if it's because the card has all those little symbols and I get tired of looking at it. But like Apple, I can play a full game and not have any issues. Bones, they're even. I can't say I like one over the other. There's some things that Appa does that I really like, and there's some things that Bones does that I really like. And so I don't really have a favorite between the two because I just don't. But Bones tends to tire me out. Sorry, just a friend of mine's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm live on YouTube." Sorry about that. And you already mentioned it on Delphi. Okay, yeah, I'll try to find out too, see what's going on. So anyway, so what's going on around here? A few things aside from me not unboxing the hockey bones yet, and me can't finding my clipboards. I got a new light setup here, so I don't know if you like it or not, but I think everything's a little bit better. So I got lights all around me, and when I do my behind the scenes video, you'll see all the lights that I got. My main light, which is to the right of me, which you can't see, was just an incandescent, like halogen, I think it was, and it hits the ceiling and it made everything bright, and that burnt out and died. And so I went to get a new one, and this thing is like the sun. It's unbelievable. It really lights up the whole darn room down here. It's pretty good, but I needed one on this side to kind of lighten that up. But anyway, so I'm trying out some new lights. I don't know how it's going to be when I stream on the tabletop, but we'll see. A couple things I wanted to talk about tonight is was talking to Ron offline a little bit and a couple other my friends about football. I want to talk about football for a second. And there's always discussions, especially on social media about the NFL and protecting the quarterbacks. Right, that's a big thing. Protecting the quarterbacks, and anytime you touch them, it's a flag and the whole bit. Well, as bad as that is, right? And we've all seen it. We watch a football game, the quarterback gets sacked, and the flag comes out, and it's roughing the passer. And you're like, man, any other player, that's a tackle. But the quarterback, it's roughing the passer. The flip side of that is how many third-string quarterbacks are we watching right now in the playoffs? Do you pay all that money for a ticket to go to a game and park and $75 beers and $37 hot dogs to watch the third string quarterback? So think about that. So when you're weighing out roughing the passer versus protecting the quarterback and seeing the top guys play, the first string or even the second string, where do you draw the line between roughing the passer and protecting the quarterbacks and letting them play, but having to see a third string guy play in the playoffs because the other two guys are hurt? And so we got talking about that, and it's just the guys are so much bigger than they were back in the day. And these guys hit harder, and they're well conditioned, and they're more trained. And nothing against the guys from the 70s and 80s and 90s when I used to really, really get into football. But let's face it, technology is better. People can play now and not, like back in with hockey back in the day. Phil Esposito had a part-time job in the summer. He didn't make enough at hockey to get him year round, and I can imagine that was the same for football. So nowadays, that is your job, and so you can train all year and be a top physical shape. But so many people are getting hurt, and then you have the concussions here. And have you ever gone back on YouTube or wherever and watched some footage from the 70s NFL? I mean, there must have been concussions on every play. These people were concussed and never knew it. Get back in there, rub some dirt on it. And you look back at that, it's like, these guys are getting smashed, and they're head first, and they're getting hit in the head, and they're just getting up and shaking off, getting back in the game. It's like, man, it is such a violent game, violent game. And so I just thought I was talking about that with some friends, and I want to know what you guys think about it because some people are saying that football is going to go away because it's so violent, and people getting hurt and concussions and the whole bit, and how many people, and then that guy that got hit, and for Buffalo, it's like, oh man, it just you wonder how long it can go, you do, but the people I've been talking to, for the most part, have been old fuddy-duddies like me, in our 50s, knowing that we're not invincible anymore, knowing that, I walk around now and I see people, I see people get hit on the ice or on the football field, and I'm like, I'd be broken in half and I'd be dead. So that's how I'm looking at the situation. And some of the other people who are saying football's too violent and this and that, they're looking at it from an old person's point of view, from a vulnerable person's point of view. When I was younger, and we probably all were younger at one point, we were, and we would do stupid things. We would take the risks. We would, I don't know what you want to call it. We would do things that we would cringe at if we thought about doing now. And so you got to keep in mind that there are kids coming out of high school and college that are dying to play in the NFL, and they'll do anything to play in the NFL. And a lot of these people, when they get to the NFL, when they get hurt, they don't tell anybody. And you read more and more articles about this, and how players in the NFL, what do they say? You can't make the squad in the tub, in the hot tub, rehabbing. You can't make the club in the tub, I think was the saying. So they're out on the field playing hurt because they don't want to lose their spot. These young people have a different mindset than us old people. They're young, they're invincible, they heal up quicker, they can take the hits, sometimes they can bounce back up. If they break a leg, they're back in 3 weeks. Me, I'm out 6 months if I break a leg, okay? So these young people don't think the same way as us old fogies think. If you just think about that for a second. They're dying to play. They want to hit. Smash mouth football. They hit, they get up. Woo, look at me, I hit somebody. Or if they get hit and they get up, woo, I took a hit. It's different when you're 22 rather than when you're 52 or 62. So that was just one thing we were talking about when it comes to football. And so one thing I was kicking around too, it's like, I don't like seeing the third string quarterbacks, but I don't like seeing flags every time you touch a quarterback either. But what can you do? Really, what can you do about that? It's a hard-hitting game. They've taken away the kickoffs, which is too bad. I used to love the kickoffs, but they said that's where the most injuries occurred. I can see it. Two guys coming at like that, you're going to get hurt. So they tried to get rid of the kickoffs or at least tone them down, and I hope they don't go away, because that having a kickoff return or a kickoff fumble or something like that, that's a big part of football. And I hope the kickoffs don't go away. And they were talking about just dropping it on the 20, the 25, no kickoffs. Maybe that's the route they got to go to prevent injuries. I don't know. I mean, it's such a violent game between big people. And that's the other thing. They're young and they're big. They're not old and twigs. They're young and they're big. And a lot of times they can take all this stuff. Some can't, some do. So just throwing that out there. I just wanted to just bring that up. That's something I was, like I said, I've been talking about with a handful of people, my football friends, and it's just, what do you think about this? And I don't know if there's an answer. I don't know if there's a right answer. I mean, they've done everything they can to add more offense. They've done everything they can to protect the quarterback. The defense is at such a disadvantage in football games. They really are. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. And, when they finally lay a good lick, they get the flag. It's like in hockey. If you throw a clean check in hockey, but the guy don't get up, it's a major penalty. You're kicked out of the game, no matter how clean the hit is. So hockey's kind of going down that path too. Whereas if you hit somebody with a clean hit and they don't get up, not that you want to see anybody hurt, but what I'm saying is if it's a clean hit, it's a clean hit. I mean, what are you going to do? Take away hitting in hockey? And I joke around, that's a penalty for hitting too hard. That same hit, the guy bounces right up. There's no penalty. There's no 5-minute major. You're not kicked out of the game. But if the guy stays down, they have to jump in and do something about it. And it's really frustrating because I miss the old Johnny Busick hit checks from the 70s. Those are now major penalties and you're kicked out of the game if you throw a hip check. You can't hip check anymore. Back in the day, you could launch off your feet and hit somebody. Well, you can't do that anymore, which is probably a good thing. But you see what I'm saying here. Let me get back to the chat room real quick here. And the Equalizer stopping by. If you're a college basketball fan, suggest trying Inside the Paint by Inside Sports. I have Inside the Paint, and I have a couple of basketball seasons. He says a great flow. Chris has the greatest team set in many college and pro seasons as well. Yeah, so I have some of the pro teams. My only issue with Inside the Paint is I don't know enough about basketball, and you do really need to know some basketball basics to play that game, because I've followed some people that played it, and I played it myself, and I had fun because it's very similar to the hockey game. But you do need to know some basketball, because sometimes something happens, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm not basketball savvy enough to follow this play. So I enjoy it, and I played Inside the Paint. I have it. I just don't know enough about, so I would have to learn basketball a little bit more to play this game. But anyway, so that's that. Around the layout. What does Around the Layout podcast have to say? Maybe there should be scaled concession prices based on the quarterbacks in the that's not a bad idea. In the preseason, how many times like, hey, you want some Patriots tickets? Preseason. Oh, good. I get to watch all the guys that aren't going to make the team, especially in the first or second game, But a third or fourth game in the preseason, they're starting to play the starters a little bit more. But yeah, you got to pay full price to go watch guys that didn't even make the team. But yeah, that's not a bad idea. Concession prices, depending on who the quarterback is, not a bad idea. I like that. D. Scott Howard stopping by. What do you got to say, D? Back in my day, the quarterback was a position for men. Yeah. Oh, I agree. But at the same time, do you want to see the third or fourth string quarterback because the other three are hurt? I mean, if you're hurt, you're hurt. We don't want to see, as good as this Purdy guy is in San Francisco, he's the third stringer. Was he Mr. Irrelevant? The last guy picked in the draft is going to the second round of the playoffs or whatever it is. I mean, come on. That's not who we want to see. Sorry, we don't want to see that guy. We just don't. We don't want to see Brian Hoyer playing in a playoff game because, Mac Jones is hurt. We just don't. We want to see the top guys, But again, there's my dilemma, Hockey is taming as well. Yeah, hockey is scaling back. They really are. Again, any hard hit. Now, if it's a dirty hit, that's one thing. Dirty hits and dirty plays in football are bad. But if it's clean, it's clean. And there was one time, I remember a story. Hang on a second now. Bobby Orr was telling a story. Can we focus in here? Oh, this camera just does this all the time. As soon as I move. There we go. Bobby Orr was telling a story one time how Gordie Howe come up to him and started roughing him up in the corner. And it was a big scrum. And Gordie Howe's roughing up. I don't know if he's fighting him, but he was like pushing him and hitting him with a stick. And so all the Bruins come over. And Bobby looked at all the Bruins and says, guys, I deserved it. So whatever he did to Gordie Howe come back at him. And Bobby was man enough to say, yeah, I deserved getting roughed up on the play. But it's too bad. Like I said, when you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but the games are so much faster. Football so much faster. Guys are bigger. Hockey the same way. Fast. I mean, back in the day, they'd smoke cigarettes in the locker room, and they go to training camp and skate a couple weeks and start the season. Now they're skating all year round. There is no training camp. Training camp starts as soon as the Stanley Cup ends, basically. These guys are playing all year for the most part, and so they're just better athletes because they have that. They have the time and the money and the ability that the guys when I grew up didn't have. Midlife crisis. I get a kick out of watching the early 80s NFL films around the time of the In the Grasp rule. It's comical. If a DL has a handful of the jersey just for a second, they were calling it a sack. I think they should go back to that. In fact, if you want to go back to where's my thing here? All right. So if you want to go back to the one of the Super Bowls with the Patriots and the Giants, on that play where the guy caught the football on his helmet, the Patriot had Eli Manning wrapped up. And instead of slamming him to the ground, which would have been 15 yards, because that's what it was back in that season, he tried to throw him easy. And when he did, Eli stood up and threw that pass. Okay. But you knew in the back of that guy's mind when he had Eli wrapped up that if he had thrown him to the ground, 15-yard flag. That's just what it would. If I in that play, I watched that play live, and every time I see it, the same thing goes through my mind. He did not sack the quarterback because he would have been flagged for 15 yards. So I'm okay with in the grass. If you want to protect the quarterbacks, if somebody grabs a hold of them, kill it. Just like the Pro Bowl used to do, or the Pro Bowl. When the running back would run and get touched like tag football. I'm okay with that. Call it a sack. But what I hate is when the defensive guy grabs the quarterback and is afraid to tackle him because he doesn't want a penalty, and the quarterback escapes and then does this amazing play. It's like, oh, this quarterback's the best guy ever. No, he should have been thrown to the ground and tackled. But because you're not allowed to do that without getting a flag, you escaped. You fought him off while he's trying to hold you, and you got away from him, and you look like the hero. But they're not allowed to tackle you. It's like the goalies in hockey when they come out and they check somebody, and everybody, oh, look at the goalie, look how tough he is. No, he's not tough because nobody can touch him. If you want to let the goalies be hit like back in the old days, then I'm okay with them checking somebody. But if a goalie checks a player, that's not cool because you are protected from getting checked. That is not cool. It is not brave when a goalie checks somebody because he cannot be retaliated against. I don't like that. I don't like that. Let's see over here. D. Scott, what else? All sports are trying to be safer, but more injuries these days than ever. That's a good point. That's a good point, D. Scott. They are trying to make it safer, and it seems to be getting worse, doesn't it? Now, is that a direct result of trying to be safer, or is that just because the players are bigger, better, faster? I don't know if we have an answer to that. Larry, hello from Northeast Ohio. Yes, I enjoy watching the old football games from the late 70s and 80s here on YouTube. It is fun. It is fun watching them. But Larry, do you cringe when you watch some of these guys, how they get hit and they get hit in the head, or these guys get croaked out there? And I watch that now again as an old man, and I'm like, when I was younger, didn't think twice of it. Now, being older and fragiler, is that a word? I think differently. Smelly Wrestling League. Don't see it going away, but I think there'll be likely more rules in terms of hitting. And that's probably for both hockey and football. Again, it's like if you hurt somebody, you're out. Just goodbye. Clean or not, no matter what the sport, if you hit somebody hard and they get hurt, they want to protect that. So I think it's almost a reactionary thing that if you hit somebody, whether it's in football or hockey, mostly hockey, I think, you hit somebody and they get on the ice and they're carried off, you're out of the game, clean or not. And I think it's a reactionary thing where I think they feel they have to do something. And if they don't do something, then they're not doing something about it. Follow? So the idea of throwing something out is their way of saying that they reacted to a situation. Football, it's a little bit like that. Well, they now have the 2 personal fouls. So if you commit 2 personal fouls, you're out of the game. And in college, I think it's 1 in college, and they actually review it, throw you out if you target somebody. So I think they are making progress with that stuff. I mean, especially in football, you don't need to hit with the head. It's not good for you. It's not good for them. The only problem with that is how many times you see a guy going to tackle somebody, and at the last second, I mean, he's bombing. This guy turns, boom. And now you hit him up high because he turned at the last second. And that happens in hockey too. Guys going to check somebody. This guy turns at the last second. So instead of a shoulder-to-shoulder hit, he's getting shoulder to back, and he goes face first into the glass. And now he's hurt because that guy turned at the last second. That's the stuff you can't control. You get 2 guys coming at each other like a freight train, and they're going to hit like this. And one guy turns at the last second. Now you have an awkward hit. And that wasn't the intent of the guy that was doing the hitting in both sports. That's a frustrating thing too, is because now some guy's going to get penalized and some guy's going to get hurt maybe because they turned at the last second. And you can't prevent that. You can't stop 2 freight trains from hitting each other if one just turns the other way. Ronald stops by. Good, Ronald. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good night. Just having a little discussion tonight. I haven't had a chance to come on much because I've just been working so dang much. And I know I keep talking about that like a broken record, but it is the truth. I finally think I have a weekend, no Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday extra stuff. So I think I'm free and clear this weekend. So I come on tonight with a little chat. I got some work tomorrow for a little while. Championship game actually tomorrow that I think I got a referee. And then I'm free tomorrow night and Sunday, so I'm hoping to get some streaming in. I'm hoping to get some hockey back on the channel. As much as I'm loving my baseball, I really need to get hockey back on the channel. I really kind of do. Let me see. Where else are we here? P-Jet. He was a goalie for 10 years. When did you play, P-Jet? I think I started playing goalie in 81 or 82. And I played a little bit of whatever it was, squirt, midget, whatever it was. I don't know. I was just on some team. I don't know. I didn't know what it was. And then I played JV for a year, and I was the backup for high school for a year. And and then I played men's league until about 94. So I played from 81 to 94. So I was like 13, 14 years. And I stopped because I was getting hit. The puck, the equipment back then was so bad. I was getting bruised. I was getting afraid of the puck. Every time somebody shot it, it would hit me. It would hurt. And I bought new equipment. And I remember I felt like Gamera. I was like this, and I couldn't move. I couldn't feel the puck. It was great, but I couldn't move. And so now I know why Gump Worsley wore his crappy chest protector that he wore in junior hockey. And this thing was paper thin. And he goes, I'd rather have the movement than the protection. And I could see where he's coming from, because once I put on that big thing, I couldn't move. I couldn't make any saves. But when I put on the old stuff, I could make the saves. But anytime it hit me, even my leg pads are so bad that I remember a guy took a shot from the blue line, hit my leg pad, and I went, ow. You shouldn't be going ow on leg pads. But anyway, so I'm just wondering, what you did. So you can't believe it. You never got hurt with your 70s equipment, especially the shoulder arm pads. Yeah, that's where I would always get it. In fact, now they have these big things that go right here on the shoulders. They look like this. So if you look at the goalie pads, and back in the day, it was a chest protector separate, and then the arm pad slid on. So everything from like here to here was open. So if somebody took a shot, if it didn't hit my pad here, it doesn't hit my chest protector here, it would hit here, and there's nothing there. And I remember even the back of my glove, like my blocker glove, waffle, that if you turned it over, your fingers were exposed. And I had a guy took a shot one night and hit me right in the fingers because I was trying to dive across and make a save. I was like, man, now they have all that protected. So the equipment now is really unbelievable. But I wondering about your goaltending history. Midlife crisis. He's almost in favor of what Al says. To go back to leather helmets, players learn how to tackle without putting their head down. That's interesting, but I think you can't go back to doing that because so many people will get hurt. And it might take a while maybe it'll take a while to come around and do that, but you got to protect people. But they did that with hockey. I think they said that in hockey too, is that people were playing hockey with their if you see people if you ever seen Phil Esposito and Bobby Orr without their Bruins shirt on, or any of those guys in the 70s, their stuff was like a sweater. There was no padding on that whatsoever. And then when you get to the 80s and 90s, they built the big rock solid shoulder pads and elbow pads. And they said that's when people started getting hurt, is because now you could go in with the elbow pad, boom, or the shoulder pad, and you were like I say, you had a shell on you. Back in the day, you didn't. So if you hit somebody, that's going to hurt. So you'd have to think about what you did because there was less protection. So I wonder if less protection would make people play different. Whereas if you're all padded up and you're not going to get hurt, you're going to lay people out. So I wonder if that has something to do with it as well. These guys says, I saw a poster advertising flag rugby. How does that work? Yeah, because rugby, I don't know how you do that, because that's the idea, is you're grabbing a guy, he's trying to run away from you. But they don't wear any equipment in rugby. That's nuts, Ron Aleo podcast. The human body has its limits. There's only so far you can go. Yeah, that is true too. But again, when you're younger, you can do more and you can bounce up from these things. When you're older, you get like I said, I'm in my mid 50s now. I'm headed towards 60. And now when I play hockey and if I tweak something, it's weeks to months. Whereas before it'd just be a couple of days and I'd be out there and I'd be playing, but no big deal. But now it takes forever to heal up. It really does. Let's see, going back to PJ here. There was some vicious stick battles in the 50s and 60s. Guys splitting each other open. Yeah, heads open without helmet. Yeah. I look now. I as you guys probably know, I got a concussion this summer refereeing ice hockey. I went into the zone to follow the play. I was going to the right into the zone. The puck come out of the zone going towards center ice, and I turned to follow the play, and my skate hit a rut. I went into the rut, and I went up in the air, and I come down, and my head slammed against the ice with a helmet on, of course. If I didn't have a helmet, I would have died. no doubt I would have died if I didn't have that helmet on. And I look back now, and I see people, in this players in the 70s. I'm like, in the 80s, no helmets. I'm like, how did people not die back then? Seriously, I would have died 6 months ago when I hit my head. How would these people, even the linesmen and referees, how are these people not hitting the ice in their head and dying? They didn't. And one guy did, Masterson, I think it was. But for the most part, I look at that now again as a 56-year-old guy, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I could go out. I mean, I won't go out on the ice without a helmet at all. If I gotta go out to do something, I put a helmet on. People laugh at me. Like, I'm not gonna fall and hit my head again. Oh man, it's just, it's unbelievable. Bernard stopping by. Basketball games take way too long to play cards or dice. Highlight Maker Hoops is fun and quick. Yeah, that's my next basketball game, I think. Highlight Maker Hoops. So you can play a game kind of quick. Play does a good job with figuring out how to get around the long play stuff. But yeah, if you play a play-by-play basketball game, it's a long time. It really is. Eddie Ball Game, looking for the best PC hockey game. You have your eye on Action PC. Well, right now your choices are Action PC, Stratomatic, Inside the Crease from Inside Sports, Stone Cold Hockey. It's what's brand new. It's PC. And I think 4th Street Software has a hockey game. I have the demo, and it's okay. And the other one is obviously Franchise Hockey Manager, which is more of a manager type of game, and it's really not. There's a little bit of graphics on there, but it's mostly managing it, and it's very difficult too. I've had some fun with it, but it's a very difficult game to figure out. So those are your options as far as hockey games go. It depends what you want. The Stratomatic is fun because you can follow along. You can't roll your own dice, but you can follow along pretty well, like the cards and dice game. So that's kind of fun. David C. stopping by. It's not a new camera, but it's a new light. I have new lights. I have all new lights down here, and they're all I don't know if what are they, fluorescent or I forget what they're called, but they're pretty bright, especially this side here. So in fact, this is how it used to look, and it's got a remote. So that's how I used to be, right? Because I had no light on this side. So now when I add the light, there it is, and it wasn't that expensive a light, and they don't get hot, really. And hopefully I don't use a lot of electricity because my electricity bill just doubled. They doubled my rates. Lovely. But yeah, so hopefully that's a clearer picture because this is a good camera I got. But now that I got lights going, maybe it's going to be a little bit better. So, and Eagles probably don't win Super Bowl if Wentz doesn't play. I think get hurt. If Wentz doesn't get hurt. Yeah. Yep. That was really weird. Smelly Wrestling Geek. Remember Tom Brady was a backup as well? Yeah. True story. When I wonder if I did this, if my camera wouldn't go out of focus as much there. True story. So Brady gets hurt. I'm sorry. Bledsoe gets hurt. I was a Bledsoe guy. So Bledsoe gets hurt, and Brady comes in, and he does okay. And I remember he went to Denver and lost the game. And I remember staying up late listening to the game on the radio. I was like, oh, Brady sucks. He lost to Denver. And then Bledsoe was ready to come back. And Parcells went with Brady. And I went, no, you got to go back to Bledsoe. Bledsoe's the guy that's going to get you there. How wrong was I? How wrong? If I was the coach of the Patriots, Tom Brady never would have happened. So, yeah, Brady was a backup. But again, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. Okay, you can argue whatever, but, he's got, 7 Super Bowls? And I think this is the first time in 10 years, they said, the first time in 10 years that Brady has not, the first time in 10 years that he's gone 2 years without winning a Super Bowl. Imagine that. First time in 10 or 11 years that he's gone back-to-back years without winning a Super Bowl. That sounds stupid to say. But it's true. He was winning it every other year. And this was supposed to be his on year, and it wasn't. But again, how many Tom Brady's you going to get? How many times do we hear that? A quarterback gets hurt. Well, you remember Tom Brady came in and look what he did. Well, how many other Tom Bradys have you seen since Tom Brady became Tom Brady. All these backups come in. All these guys step up, and you think he's the next Tom Brady, and he's not the next Tom Brady. And we might never see another Tom Brady. So call it what you will. Jack stopping by. Good evening. Keep up the good work. Do you think Purdy and the 49ers eliminating Dak and the Cowboys? Do I think they will beat Dak and the Cowboys? I think they have a pretty good chance. From what I hear, San Francisco's defense is very good. And the Cowboys, they played a bad Tampa Bay team. Let's just say what it is. The Cowboys started strong the season, then they tailed off. And they're such a Swiss cheese team. You just don't know what's going to happen with the Cowboys. I just don't trust them. I just don't trust the Cowboys. How many times this year I was in the digital to dice pool where we would just pick the winners every week. And I don't know if we went up against the spread or not. I don't remember. I think it was just pick the winners. And I remember the Cowboys were playing home against a bad team. And I went with the Cowboys for an easy win, and they lost. And I was like, oh, man, how do you lose this game, Dallas? So Dallas is so unpredictable. This Purdy kid, it's hard to say. I mean, he played a few games, and he's played well. So now, of course, he's being crowned as the next big thing. But we'll see. We'll see how Purdy does against the Cowboys this weekend. It's going to be a good test for him. But he's at home with a good defense. And but the Cowboys are hit or miss. The Cowboys can be world beaters, and the Cowboys can be egg beaters, as I like to say. And Midlife says, Foles United, the team, as Wentz wasn't liked that much. Yeah, that can happen too. If you got a quarterback or anybody on the team that's not well liked. I mean, look, remember the movie The Replacements? Shane Falco, and then he brought in that guy Martouf. He crossed the line to lead the team, and he couldn't get the team going anywhere. So they put the call out for Shane Falco to come back, and Falco showed up at halftime and led the Washington Sentinels to the win. Yep, it can happen. The Equalizer chimed in. Technology is improving everything. Workout regimens, workout equipment, diets, supplements. So the players are getting bigger, stronger, faster without PEDs, which leads to more injuries. Oh, maybe that's interesting too. I never thought about that. But yeah, the whole, what Brady's on, all these crazy supplements, none of them illegal, and they're not PEDs, but they are stuff that, they didn't have back in the day. And you look at all this, the computer training too. I mean, how many times you see it on TV and people are doing stuff, and then you see the computer, mimicking everything. And so that they're creating equipment around computer-based, theories and scenarios to try to protect the players and make them more mobile. I mean, look back into some of the 70s and 80s. These guys are like giants with their shoulder pads and stuff. And now everyone's tiny because everything's compact and it's compressed and it's just lighter but stronger. So yeah, so everything changes, and you wonder if that's causing any of it too. The equipment, just what it was. Jack stopping by. Oh, we already talked about Jack. Sorry about that. We were talking about the Cowboys there. And midlife crisis. Started watching 72 NFL films weekly highs a couple months ago, about halfway through 75. I got stuck on 76, as you know. That come up on my YouTube feed as Turbo stops by. Good evening. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden it's like, week 7, 1976. And I put it on, and I watched it. And now all the other weeks are coming up. I should watch them in order, but I did go to 77 and finally see the Tampa Bay first win. And you know something? So they show highlights. I think they show every game. If not every game, most every game. So Tampa Bay goes 0-14. Then they go 0-12. And on game 13 of the season, which is their 27th game of franchise history, right? They finally win. They beat New Orleans in New Orleans for their first ever win. So they went winless in one season, 0-12. And now they finally win their first franchise game. They gave them 15 seconds. They showed the play where, was it Archie Manning for the Saints, tried to throw a pass, it got deflected, and it was caught by one of the linemen or the linebacker for Tampa Bay in the end zone for a touchdown. And Tampa Bay, I think they got 2 or 3 defensive touchdowns in that game to win the game. So, and that's the only highlight they showed. They said, and in New Orleans, the Buccaneers finally win their first game. And then it shows the pass going up, get tipped, and he catches it, and they're trying to spike it. And they had trouble spiking the ball. They kept dropping it. And they didn't even know how to celebrate their first win. And that was it. It was like, show more. This is their first win. This was a legendary team. And they got 15 seconds, and they showed one play. I mean, come on. Show us a couple of other touchdowns. Give the Buccaneers some credit. They won a game. But I ended up watching 76 and 77. Real fun stuff. I really did like that. D. Scott coming in. No NHLs out of 50s could even play these days. Well, that's a discussion we have all the time here on Digital to Dice and my channel and in our circles on social media, is what would happen if you brought in the 1950 Bears against the 2023 whoever Packers. What would happen? I mean, that you don't know, because that matchup will never happen. But that Bears team in the 50s was, I'm just using that as an example. I don't know, but say they were dominant in the 50s. Well, that they were dominant against those people. I don't know how dominant they would be if they played a modern team. It's hard to say, because it's too different. It's so different. It's so far apart. What is it? 73 years apart, let's say. So it's hard to say. And even with hockey, you see the guys from the 50s flying around out there. You don't know how they would do that. Today's hockey is so fast. But if you gave the guys in the 50s, in the NHL, if you gave the guys in the 50s today's equipment and paid them millions of dollars, and that was their only job, but they could skate all year in practice, you think they'd be as good as the NHLers today? And if the NHLers today had that equipment, and in off season they had to go work landscaping jobs, they wouldn't be the players they are today. Some of them would be, but not all of them. So you need to take the whole package into account when you compare back in the day to modern day. It's so unfair, the advantage that today's players have with technology and equipment and ice time for hockey and field time for football, and having video of everything goes on. It's so different. It really is. And all the radio into the quarterback, instead of like signaling in with hands or running something. It's such a different game. And you wonder that if you brought a team from today back into the 50s and gave them the 50s equipment, how would they do? And if they had to work, full-time jobs off season. So, a lot of things to consider when you compare different eras. You have to consider what's going on in these different eras with these athletes. So that's kind of how I look at that. David C. Flag rugby is actually quite popular, especially in the younger age bracket into the game. Works very similar to flag football, more of a 7-style speed game. Interesting. I know a lot of people that won't let their kid play football. And it wasn't just because of the Buffalo thing either. It was just they don't want their kid playing football. And and they're talking about not allowing hitting in football till a certain age, which is kind of what they do with hockey. You got to get to a certain age level before you can start body checking. But boy, you look at, like, if you get on to Texas and Georgia and Florida, high school football, they're as good as some college teams, some of these high school teams. So, and they're not afraid to hit in a whole bit. So I guess it depends on which part of the country you're in, I guess. But if you don't let kids hit till a certain age, I don't know if that's good either. I just don't know. I mean, not everyone's going to make the NFL. I get it, but how are you going to make the NFL if you never hit? Sean stopping by. Thanks for stopping by. Midlife, what do you got here? Your wife made an observation a few weeks ago after seeing a helmet to helmet when the D only glanced off the offensive face mask. The helmets are getting huge, almost impossible not hit. That's a good point. It's almost impossible not to hit the helmet of some kind, because it's just anytime you hit somebody up high, it's going to ride up. And my thing was that when I talked about a few minutes ago, you're running with the ball, someone's coming at you, and you duck, right? So you duck. Well, that guy that was going to hit you here is now hitting you here because you ducked. So I think some of this is on the ball carrier, that if you put your head down and go forward, bad things are going to happen. And you can't keep punishing the defense because you get hit in the head because you duck. And it's the same thing in hockey. If you turn at the last second and you're facing the board, then the guy was going to hit you here, and now he hit you in the back and you go to the board. You're the guy that spun at the last second. There was going to be a collision no matter what. This guy can't stop. Whether it's football, hockey, this guy can't stop if you turn at the last second. So whatever's going to happen when you turn is going to happen. And that's when bad things can happen. So I don't know how you prevent that. Do you tell the guy, if you put your head down, tough cookies? Or do you get, when he puts his head down, he gets hit in the head, you throw the flag. Well, then everyone's going to be sticking their head down to get the flag. So you see all the dilemmas that we have, and that's kind of why we're talking this out here, because I think we all agree we want everybody to be safe. But I think we all can agree that it's nearly impossible to do that with certain sports. P-Jet said he was a goalie from 70 to 80 through high school. After that, beer league defenseman until 2000. Stopped because he fell on a tailbone too many times. Yeah, I hear you on that. And he had the chest protector and shoulder arm pads of the 70s, leather leg pads. I did too. I get pictures of myself with that stuff there. I should have kept all that stuff. That stuff's classic now. I still have a old waffle. My uncle gave me his old waffle from back in the day. I remember when I got my catching glove, right? Catching glove. And it was just like this. And then when I got my new catching glove, it had that piece that went over here. And it was like, that was so cool. And I remember one time, guy took a shot, the puck come in, right? So here's the puck, and here's my glove, and it hit that piece. And it hit the piece, and it turned my glove like this. And I brought it back, and I grabbed the puck. And if I didn't have that piece, it would have gone in. But the guy took the shot. I was like, boom, and I felt my hand turned. And I was like, brought it back. It's like, puck never went in the net. And I was like, how cool is that? That little piece of thing over there, which is legal, I guess, that saved the goal. So I do remember that. Midlife crisis. Can't hit high, can't hit low, can't lower the crown of your helmet. Basically, the only legal hit is shoulder in the midsection. Baseball strike zone is a bigger area. You're exactly right. But what do we do about that? What do we do? You know, in fact, I remember Rob Gronkowski with the Patriots. He caught a long pass, and he's running toward the end zone, and the guy came in and hit him at the knees, and he was gone. He was out for the rest of the year, and I think part of the next year. And it looked like a dirty hit. It looked like a dirty hit that he went for his knees. And the defender said, look, I can't hit him high. I can't hit him low. Where am I supposed to hit him? He goes, I didn't want to hit him in the head. So I went up for his legs. And unfortunately, when he hit his knee, he blew out his knee. But he says, I can't hit him high. You know, you can't horse tackle. You know, you can't grab him by the back and tackle him anymore. You can't hit him up high. So he went low for the tackle. He's like, you know, what are we supposed to do? And again, that's the question. What are you supposed to do? You know? PJ says his goalie friend coming to school Monday morning was arms all black and blue, but not you. That means you didn't make any saves. I'm just saying. You didn't make any saves. Australian rules football. Oh, that is nice. That is nice. Hey, Edie coming by. Did you get my text today? You didn't respond. I sent you a text today. You didn't respond. And I almost come on to the Game Hounds the last Sunday because it was episode 666. And I should have got on episode 666. And I need to get on at least one in 2023 so I can say I've been on the show for 14 years. So I got to come on the show. I do. See, Turbo says midlife is, she's right. Helmets are such, Turbo says midlife to midlife. Correct. She's right. Helmets are much larger today. And shoulder pads are a lot smaller. So much H2H becomes head-to-head becomes incidental contact, but the league is compelled to enforce the flag. I think you're right. And I think hockey and football, they're compelled to do that. They are. There's somebody gets hurt, we have to do something. If it's a clean hit and we don't do anything, we're not doing our job. So, yeah. Yep. Some of the small players starting to look like bobbleheads because the helmet's getting so massive. Yep, they are. Do more padding have enhanced injuries in today's sports? That's one of the things we're talking about, Sean. Is it because the equipment is better or bigger or tougher? You know, I don't know. I mean, what is the answer to protect people? That's what we want to know. What is the answer to protect people? Tom L says, check out Florentine football. Okay. Curtis, LED lights. Yeah, I do. I get lights all over the place here. And again, I'm feeling now that they're just not hot. I don't think they're very hot at all. This sucker here that I have over here, like I say, it's lighting up half my town over here, and it's just got 250 watt bulbs. And this thing's, I even got an extra little light here I could turn on if I even wanted more light, but I'm not going to turn this one on because that's way too much light. But yeah, the LED lights are great. Yeah, you can't beat them. And I finally got some light over here. Again, if I turn this off, I've done this couple. This is fun. If I turn that off, look at the difference. You know, so I put that on, and now everything's a little bit more even. You know. And Steve Young sat for years as a backup for quarterback under Montana. He just sat on the bench, got paid, went to law school, got his law degree, and then Montana retired, and then Steve Young jumped in. Yeah. Yep. Well, they used to say yeah, that's how legends are made. Yeah, he sat for years, and he did his time. Steve Young played for the Buccaneers, too, and they were bad. He was on the Creamsicles, and they were bad. And then he goes to San Francisco, and he gets his turn, and Steve Young was just as good as Montana, I thought. Steve Young was fantastic. Montana went to KC, had success in KC, so it was a happy ending for both. Bada boom. So, yep, it is possible. But again, you can't sit on the bench too long. You sit on the bench too long, and now you do become relevant. But the best job in football used to be the backup quarterback because you never played. Now you're thrown in. And again, how many third string quarterbacks are we going to look at in the playoffs before we're okay with roughing the passer calls? I don't know what the answer. I going back to somebody talked about in the grasp. I like that. Because I don't want to see the quarterback get thrown down and hurt. But neither do I want to see the guy trying to tackle the quarterback and start thinking about how can I put him on the ground so I don't get a penalty. And then the quarterback escapes and looks like he's awesome. I like the in the grasp. Let's protect the quarterbacks. In the grasp is perfect. Okay, the guy's got him before he can do anything. Blow it dead, and that way the guy doesn't have to decide whether to throw him down and hurt him and take a penalty or let him escape. Okay, I think they're looking for more offense, so maybe that's why they get rid of that. And Curtis says, it'll be interesting to see if Brock Purdy is one and done or if he's an unlikely emerging talent that will go on for years of success. After coming into play unexpectedly when the regular quarterback went down, a.k.a. Kurt Warner, Tom Brady, etc. Well, that's the thing. Everybody's looking for the next Tom Brady. But there's one Tom Brady. And every team's looking for the next one. And you can't blame them. Tom Brady is a true Hollywood story. Guy gets hurt. This guy comes in who was the third string quarterback to start the year, slid up into the second spot because he worked so hard to practice, got his chance, and never let it go. He never let it go. And the rest is history. And he's still playing because he takes care of himself. So, but every time a backup comes in, you see all the talking heads. Is this the next Tom Brady? And, so far, none of them have been. But let's see. Let's see how this Purdy guy does, The problem is with the new guy. Like the Patriots had that guy, oh boy, what was his name? Lucky or something. I forget his name now. The guy, Mac Jones got hurt, and then Brian Hoyer got hurt. And so they brought in their third string quarterback. And I forget his name now. I don't remember his name. And he played a couple of games. It looked okay. And they're like, oh, man, this is going to be the next Tom Brady, and get rid of Mac and keep this guy here. And then all of a sudden, because he wasn't scouted. You don't scout the third string quarterback. All of a sudden they started scouting him. In the next few games that he played, he was not that good. So he looked real good early. But then once they started to scout him and press him and force him into some plays, he wasn't that good. Or at least not at the time. Not as good as he initially was. So let me see. And Dom stops by. Dave, Happy New Year. Hope all is well. And Purdy is the real deal. Well, we'll find out, Dom. We'll find out. Happy New Year to two. Haven't talked to you in a while. It is the 20th, actually, of January here. We'll find out. We'll see how Purdy does. We'll see how he does. Turbo Brady 199 overall, 6th rounder, 23 years later, GOAT and still going strong. Bucks had a lot of holes between injuries and retirement. The Bucks were not a good team this year. In fact, he left New England. When Brady left New England, I had no problem. There was no team in New England. When he left, and I know the whole COVID thing was weird and a whole bit, but that team was garbage. Cam Newton came in. He was on a bad team. Now, Cam Newton was bad when he played here in New England that one year, but that team was bad. They just were. And so when he went to Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, that is, he had a decent team. Then he got Gronk with him, and then he got Antonio Brown. And that team, they were great. They just put it all together, and it was a magical story ride for Brady. And then the next couple Tampa Bay teams just weren't that good. Last year's team was okay. This year's team was terrible. I don't even know if they were 500. So, he's throwing to guys that are dropping balls, and guys are fumbling. So, I had no problem him leaving New England because the team was bad. And then they were going to blame Brady because the team was bad. So he goes to Tampa, wins a Super Bowl, and now he's on another bad team. So I hope he comes back one more year. I don't know where I'd like to see him go. I would like to see him go to a playoff contender for 1 year. I think it'd be fun to see him in another uniform. Although I am disappointed he played 3 years in Tampa Bay and we never saw the orange jerseys. I heard they were bringing out the orange jerseys this year, and it didn't happen. So I'm disappointed that I didn't see Brady in the creamsicle because that would have been like one of my favorite quarterbacks in my favorite uniform. But it didn't happen. Don't know why, but it didn't. But I would like to see him play one more season. I'm not sure where. I obviously I don't want to see him to go to the Jets or anything like that, but I'd like to see him go to a team and do a decent team. A decent team that needs a quarterback. I don't want to see a superstar team and just have win. Yay, anybody could have played quarterback. I want to see him go help a team, cross the finish line. Here we go, out of focus again. Back to the chat room here. Smelly Wrestling League. He still believes the Cowboys win because the 49ers record is helped by a weak division. Could be. It could be. Yeah, the Cowboys definitely were in a tough division. The Giants played well. And the Eagles obviously playing really well. Washington wasn't bad either. That whole division could have made the playoffs. That was a tough division. And look at Tampa. They won it, 8-9 or 9-8 or something. They won the division because their division was terrible. Terrible. What can you do? Oh, Scott's up. Good to talk to you, Scott. We haven't chatted in a while. Good to see you come in here. David says, there's a great meme out there. Meme. Edie's going to kill me because I always say mem and meme wrong. Out there's a picture of Brady in 2022 and George Blender in 72, both age 45. Crazy difference. Yeah, Brady doesn't look like he's 45. He just doesn't, Do you think Viking fans hate every other team in the NFL and refuse to play as them in a video game? Maybe. I've always liked the Vikings. I liked the Fran Tarkenton, Bud Grant. I did. When I was watching my 76 and 77 NFL films on YouTube, they had a couple of they had the game that Tarkenton broke his leg. He was outdoors playing, and Tommy Kramer came in and led the Vikings to the win. But it was outside. It wasn't the dome. It was outside. It was a very old stadium. It didn't even have wraparound seats. It had like bleachers on this side, and then at the end, it was really weird. I don't even know if they had a press box there, but it was all full of snow. It was good winter weather there. Hockey is so much faster. Oh yeah, well that's the thing. But again, if you went back into the 50s and 60s and handed them today's equipment and paid them millions of dollars and said play all year and train, how do you think they do? How do you think they do? I will say this: that obviously I'm a huge Bobby Orr guy, but I have to be fair. To be fair, I saw I always watch Bobby Orr clips on YouTube. There was a couple I saw. Orr come in, made a move, went to the left, right? And as he was ready to take his shot, a guy come around the net. And instead of going to check Orr or lift his stick, he just watched him. And he curled around Orr while watching him score the goal. And that happened in a couple different highlights. There was one in California that the guy did that. And there was one at the Boston Garden where there was against the Flyers, and Orr's doing his stuff, and it was a Philadelphia Flyer guy just sitting there with a stick watching. And all he had to do was go in, lift the stick, or punch him, or knock him off, and he just sat there watching. And and I don't know if it was just mesmerizing because Orr was that good, or if that's just the NHL back then where there were people that nowadays you get the puck, someone's on you. And in the 70s, yeah, there was rough and tough in the whole bit. But how many times have I was watching these clips? But do that sometime. Watch some clips from the 70s and watch how many guys are just standing there or just cruising around. I still can't believe it. Or went in around the defenseman and somebody was going around the net on the other team and just watched Orr go in and score on the goalie and never made any attempt to go after Orr. It's kind of like our league. We have so many people just standing around watching, waiting for somebody else to make a play that it doesn't happen. So it was different hockey back then. It was very different hockey back then. I'm not saying every guy was like that, but there was a lot of guys that maybe shouldn't have been playing in the league. Maybe they were making league minimum, and they, it's just what it is. All right, back to the chat room. Curtis, some of the more muscular athletes, think Stanton and Buxton, trainers are considered a less muscular build for more aerobic exercise to be more resilient and less prone to injury. Well, that's, these people, they have strength and conditioning coaches, right? That's what they do. They have strength and conditioning coaches. And the idea is to make everybody stronger and to try to prevent injuries, right? That's what these people are there for. And that's a good point. Maybe less muscle, more aerobic, more flexible. So if you get hit and something bends and twists, you're a little bit more flexible and maybe you don't get hurt or maybe the injury is less. That's a good point. P-Jet stopping by again here. In the 50s, the NHL was the best 120 Canadian players. Yep, today it's the best 600 players in the whole world. You're exactly right. You know, I think there's too many teams. I think, but again, you take a look at this the 600th player in the NHL today and compare him to the some of the top players in the 50s. Again, the technology today with what they have and how they can train, that guy's going to be pretty good. It really is. Have you ever seen some of the old black and white footage of the people skating and stuff? It's hard to watch. There's some good skaters, but it's hard to watch. It really, really is. See, Brady first Blander at age 45 agreed. Different as night and day. Blander looked like a grandpa at 45. Yeah, he did. I think back in the day, my grandfather looked like a grandfather at 45. Fantastic points on how to compare now with yesterday. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I mean, we all like to do that comparison, and we all play these sports simulation games, and we play the old teams against the new teams. And again, we talk to developers all the time on Digital to Dice, and they said that it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. So you can play it, but it's not really what would happen because there's no way of knowing. There's so many factors to consider. Look at what they used to play on back in the day. Mud pits, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Now they have self-draining fields, so it can rain for 6 weeks and there's not going to be a drop of water on the field come game time. It's just all the conditions are just different. The training is different. Recovering from injuries is different. It's just it's a different time between back then and nowadays. So when you play it, I need to do more of that. I like to play teams in the same season. As you know, I just like to do that, and I like to play all the different teams from that season. But it might be fun to try playing teams from different eras to see what kind of results I get. But again, it's so even the results I get are just they're going to be unbelievable either way. You could say, "Oh, those Canadian teams from the 50s and 60s, they would destroy anybody." Well, maybe. And again, when you card them in the game or you rate them in the game, you don't know what, I know the developers do the best they can, but they say that sometimes it's so hard to, you got to, like I say, you get the Bears from the 50s or the 60s, they were throwing 3 times a game, and now they're throwing 50 times a game. So it's 2 different ways of playing. And field goal kickers, they can hit a 30-yarder, maybe 40. Nowadays, they're hitting 65-yarders. So you play these 2 teams against each other. If this team can only hit a 35-yard field goal and this team can hit from 65, who's got the advantage? And how do you make up for that? That's the thing. So that's why I like to play teams within the season because I know it's a fair matchup. That's, but again, playing with other eras, I think could be fun too. All right, let's see. Don, what's my view on these roughing the quarterback calls? I talked a little bit about that earlier, Don. And what I said is that we have a decision to make. Okay. We collectively, football people, fans, whatever. So right now, it seems like that every time you touch a quarterback, it's a flag. So we have way too many roughing the passer calls. Every time you touch a quarterback or you hit them, it's a flag. So they're trying to protect the quarterbacks with all these flags. The opposite of that is our first and second string quarterbacks are out, and we have a third string quarterback playing in the playoffs. And I think we've had more than one. So what do you want? Do you want to protect the quarterbacks with flags so we can pay to watch our top players play? I mean, do you want to see Aaron Rodgers play, or do you want to see the backup? Do you want to see Brady, or do you want to see Brian Hoyer? And I'm not knocking the backup quarterback because they're there for a reason. But you know what I'm saying? Do you want to see the star player? Do you want to see the best players play? Or are you okay with them being hurt and we bring in the third string guy? What are you going to drop if you're going to pay $1,000 to go to a football game? You get tickets for one game, and the day's going to cost you $1,000. Do you want to see your top quarterback? Or if he's hurt and the backup's hurt, are you going to see the third string guy or the guy from the practice squad for that $1,000? That's what we were talking about. How much can you protect the quarterbacks? How much you need to protect the quarterbacks versus not protecting them and having guys you've never heard of play quarterback. And it's a great story. This Purdy guy's a great story in San Francisco. But let's see how long the story goes. Maybe he will be a decent player. Maybe he finally has his chance to shine. But Look at all these other backups that have been playing all year long, and look at the Miami Dolphins. They did pretty well with their third string quarterback against the Bills, I will say, in the playoffs. I thought they were going to get smashed, but they did okay. But again, it wasn't Tua, and it wasn't the other guy. I think it was their third string quarterback. So, I mean, is that what we want to see? Third string quarterbacks because we don't want to protect the quarterbacks? That's something to think about. Full-time analytics feed pitchers today the best way to pitch batters. Yep. This has brought down batting averages versus the pitches that were not supposed to be not supported by these full-time analytics in the past. Yeah. Oh, I think all this stuff, scouting people. I always hated that. When it's like, okay, well, we're playing this team tonight, so this goalie goes down, so shoot high. Oh, this guy has a problem glove side. This guy has a problem stick side. So you go for the weakness every time and you scout it, or even with batters and pitchers, I get it's part of the game. And again, that's things that you didn't have back then. You could see films on another team, but you didn't have the technology today. They had that big, the black and white reel to reel. You'd see them, watching the other team. Oh, rewind that. Okay, let's rewind. Now it's got high def and different angles, and you got scouts that go to the games and tell you what's going on. So so the analytics, in all sports, are very different, and that's why you see some of these backup quarterbacks come in. They have early success because they haven't been scouted, and now you scout them, and now defensive coordinator and the team starts bearing down on these guys, and now they're not as good as they were. Bernard again. I think football injuries are probably due to the size of the players. Your father played offensive lineman in the 30s semi-pro football. That's really cool. At 175 pounds. Today they're all over 300 pounds. Yeah, Ron brings that up all the time. He says back in the day, he'd be 225, 230. Now these people are 300 pounds. And, you can't move them. In fact, there was a guy, there's a radio station here in Boston I listen to, just a talk station. And every once in a while, when something happens, they talk about sports and concussions and a whole bit. And he always tells the story. He goes, I knew this guy in high school that was a really, really fantastic football player. And he worked out and he was big and the whole bit. And he went to try out for, I don't know if it was college or pro. And I'm not sure if he went from high school to college or pro. But he said, whoever he went up against on one of the tryouts, he says, all these people were jacked up on something. And they were so strong. And he had no shot. And he goes, this was a good football player, big stocky guy, big man all around, and lifted the weights and got big, but he was just no match for these people that he went up against. And so he was kind of hinting at the steroids and all that other stuff there, but it just, they're bigger, better, faster, stronger is what it was. And PJ coming back in with some hockey. He sewed extra foam knee pad inserts into my hockey pants after seeing that Tony Esposito did that. I did too. I packed a lot of foam, extra stuff into my stuff. I stick stuff in my gloves and stick stuff down my socks to protect the back of my leg and stuff. I used to wear ankle guards. I spun them around so it would protect my ankle and the back of my skate when I played net. And when I skate out, I used to wear ankle guards too all the time. Now the skates are so much harder that you really don't need them. I think they sell a clear one that defensemen wear, but my skates are pretty hard now, so I don't use the ankle guards anymore. In fact, I don't think they fit. I still have them in my bag, but they just don't fit anymore. Smelly Wrestling. Let's make baseball a tackle sport. I'd be far more interested if it were. Yeah, I know. I gotta say though, I was a 70s, 80s baseball guy, and that's what I'm playing. As you know, I'm playing 79 right now and loving it. What was I getting at that? Oh, a tackle sport. Baseball is really trying to improve the game. I mean, we're in a society now where everything's fast. I mean, if you think about it, back in the 70s and 80s, right? You'd go to order a stereo for the house and be like, okay, come back in 2 weeks to pick it up. That's how it was. You didn't go into the store and bring anything home. You ordered either through a catalog or at the store, and then in 2 weeks you'd pick it up. Or you get the Sears catalog, and then in a couple of weeks you go to Sears to pick it up. That was society back then. Now everything is so much faster, and baseball's, again, the purists are going to hate me, but baseball's kind of been, the younger kids are not taking to baseball. because it's of the way it's played. It's a chess match, as Bob Costin says. And people nowadays don't want to watch chess. It's too slow. Everything's at the speed of light. Everything is this. You know what I mean? So that's what we got to have. So you got to keep up with the times. Look what hockey did. They get rid of the 2-line pass, right? And they expanded the zone. So now you can pass that puck all the way down and you can keep it in the zone. And hockey's done some fantastic things to keep the game moving forward and keep the speed going. Okay, getting rid of the 2-line pass is huge. How many times you see a long pass offside by a stride? Yeah, I guess it was fun back in the day, but now you can send a stretch pass, 150 feet down to the far blue line. The guy goes in a breakaway. Excuse me. That is fun. That is so. Hockey's done some things. Football's done some things. So finally, baseball is. I think they got the pitch clock coming in. They're trying some things, and the blowback is unbelievable between the old crew that this is the way baseball's been for 1,000 years. And the new people saying, well, we don't like the way baseball is. We just can't get into it. Something needs to change. So they're trying to get in the new crowd. I mean, this crowd is getting older and this crowd's coming in. So I give baseball credit that they are trying something. Let's see. What is the weight difference between leather goalie pads and the new pads? Oh my gosh. When the leather ones got wet, they felt like cement. They really did. They were super heavy, the leg pads that I had back in the 80s. And I remember going out looking for new pads, and I would pick them up and go, whoop, holy, there's nothing to these things. The last set of pads I bought was 5 years ago, and I bought them for roller hockey, and there was nothing to them. They were so damn light. I'm like, oh my gosh. I almost wanted to go back playing goalie again just because of how the equipment is. Even the shoulder pads, everything's lighter. It's all mobile. Where was this stuff when I was playing? It really was. So Edie says, I saw it was bad. It was not a bad joke. It was a fantastic joke. Okay. I'm going to read you the joke. Okay. When asked about some of the advantages of living in Switzerland, Lena said, well, the flag is a big plus. I thought that was pretty hysterical. Come on. Yeah. That was good. Good little chuckle of the day. And she doesn't like it. I got to stop texting chicks. That's my problem. All righty. Hockey was better in the 70s and 80s. Goalie equipment killed it. Maybe. When I go back and watch some of the hockey now, sometimes it's tough to watch. I really like watching the speed of today. I don't like all the crap that's come into the game, outside of hockey, but the game itself, like the 3-on-3 overtime, one of the players suggested go 10 minutes on that. No shootout, 10 minutes of 3-on-3. I would do that. The 3-on-3 overtime is fantastic. In fact, sometimes that's all I watch. Like I'll be on my phone seeing who's going to overtime, especially Vegas. Like 3 years ago, the Vegas Knights, 3-on-3 overtime, cycling the zone, in and out of this, go in the zone with a puck, come out of the zone, drop it off to this guy, make a line change. It was just movement after movement after movement, smooth, pass, and then a 2-on-1 break, and they win the game. So fun. 3-on-3 overtime. They need to extend that. The shootout, when they go to, quite honestly, when overtime ends, on the rare times that I watch hockey, when overtime ends, click. I either go to the next game or I go to something else. I don't watch the shootout. I enjoyed it the first year, and then after that, I don't enjoy the shootout at all. And if they keep it, they keep it. But for me, I tune it out. I just don't care. Let's see. Back to P-Jet. Doesn't know the standard line that I don't know exact, but the standard line was that wet goalie pads weighed 40 pounds. The modern pads supposed to be much lighter. Yeah, I don't know what the weight was either, but they were heavy to begin with. And when you got them, they soaked up the water because they were leather, and it soaked right in through the leather into the hide, and it just, oh man, they were soaked. You used to have to leave them, put fans on them to dry them. Everything was just soaked back then. That's why you saw the goalies in the crease getting rid of the water, skating back and forth. PJ, Stan Fischel and others used to say that helmets made players more reckless, more injuries. I would agree with that. I would agree that once you started putting on helmets, they got more reckless. And they made for many years, they were talking about high school and college and how when they put the cages, that's mandatory cages in college, that sticks come up higher. Once players couldn't get hit in the face anymore, all the sticks come up high. So that was another argument there. I myself, I won't go on the ice without a full cage. I did play roller hockey for a handful of years with just a visor, the plastic visor. And then when I started to really do the hockey play-by-play, and I was podcasting too before Digital to Dice. I was on the show called The Game Hounds. When I started to do a lot of voice stuff, I put on a cage because I didn't want to take a stick by accident to the mouth, and not only did I not want to lose my teeth, but I didn't want to have to not be able to talk. So I don't want to call the guy and say, I can't work because my mouth is all screwed up. I didn't want to say that. So guys still make fun of me now. It's like, oh, why are you refereeing with a full cage? Is it because I says I need my mouth and my voice for my job, and I'm not going to have you guys hit me with a puck or a stick and cost me a chance at working. So for me, that's what I do. But yes, I would agree with that about being more reckless. Edie says, one of the things I think affects injuries today is that players actually say something about being hurt. Back in the olden times, the guy played hurt. Yeah, we talked about that. I watched a lot of the football highlights, and guys were getting clocked, and like they have to be concussed. They really do. But today, as much as they do admit it today, sometimes they don't, because the old saying is you don't make the club in the tub. So if you're constantly getting rehabbed and if you're constantly hurt, they don't have patience for that. It's next man up. See you later. So a lot of players will play hurt because they don't want to lose their spot. Look at Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe lost his spot to Tom Brady because he was hurt, and Bledsoe wanted to come back, and he lost it, and it was gone forever. So I think they hit it in the 70s, back in the day, a lot, but nowadays, I think the players might hide it because they don't want to lose their spot on the team. Depending, I think mostly with football is what it is, because football, you're in, you're out real fast. Curtis, the hard-hitting 70s. Terry Bradshaw was smashed after nearly every pass. Today's game sometimes is scary with how fast they hit each other, harder and faster. It can be disturbing. Yeah. Oh, he was hit a lot. But the guys today are so much faster and quicker. And I hate to say they hit harder, but they're bigger. So how can it not be a worse hit? They're bigger. And again, I couldn't play football. Never. Even when I was at my peak age. So I hate talking bad about any player that played it, but just kind of comparing, yesteryear to modern times. It's hard to say. I mean, there were big hits all over the place, but nowadays, I think what it is, maybe this sums it up best, is the past players compared to the newer players, both hit hard, both were tough, but I think nowadays, because of all the stuff we talked about technology, right? We talked about equipment. We talked about training. We talked about money. We talked about all these things that can make you a better athlete compared to back in the day when you didn't have all that. I think the difference is now is that you had a handful of people who could do it back in the day, whereas now most players can hit hard. Most players can do this stuff. So I don't want to take anything away from the players back in the day for any sport, because there were some hard-hitting players. But I think nowadays more players can do it, and they can do it maybe a little quicker and a little harder. That's just my opinion. And Demi agrees with Edie about them holding back the injury things. I would kind of agree with that. All right. Anytime I see Tony Esposito here, I gotta look at this. Look at Eddie Jackman and Tony Esposito compared to the goalies now. They look like midgets in the net. Yeah, I was watching Eddie Jackman line up for a face-off, because I'm on all these Facebook groups for hockey, and they just post pictures, and we just gush over the 70s hockey. It's what we do. And it's a picture of Eddie Jackman in net. He's like this, and the net felt like it was a soccer net behind him. There was so much net. I was like, holy cow! Are these nets like 8 feet wide? That's what it looked like. And nowadays, you're right. These goalies are in the net, and you look at there's not much space around them. It really was. Turbo says none of Tua's injuries, Tua, the quarterback from the Miami Dolphins, were from helmet to helmet hits. All were whiplash head to the ground. That's how I got my concussion. Was whiplash. I fell back, and I when I fell, I was like, "Don't hit your head, don't hit your head." But I fell so fast and awkward. When I hit, I kind of just rolled, and my head snapped back, and I go, "Damn it! I hit my head," and that's what it was from. It was from whiplash. Let's see. Tom Brady seems to want to avoid contact entirely anymore. Yeah, and that's why he's playing at 45 years old. Look at Brady. He can feel the presence, and he's done this for many years. He goes back to back. If he's in trouble, see ya. throws it at the feet. Brady don't take a sack. He doesn't scramble, you know? And so when he gets that, yep, he's in trouble. Oh, I didn't see this here. Dom, thank you so much. I haven't got a super chat in months. Thank you so much, Dom. Thank you so much for supporting me here on the channel. That was really cool of you. Really nice of you. But getting back to Curtis, yeah, he gets rid of it. He's smart with it. And look at some of these other guys that are hurt now. They try to run and spin and dance and then boom, they're hit and they get hit 100 times a game and now they're hurt. Brady doesn't want that. Brady's back. His guy ain't there. See ya. He doesn't mind taking the incomplete pass. He's not going to get hurt, and that's why he doesn't get hurt. Is he plays smart. Ray Bork said that too one time. They said, Ray, how come Ray Bork got hurt? A couple times during his career, but he says, how come that you really never missed a ton of time? And he says, he goes, I really tried not to put myself in a position to get hurt. And it doesn't mean he didn't get involved in a play. It doesn't mean he didn't play hard, but he just played a certain way that he didn't get hurt. And that made a lot of sense when he said that. Steeler fan show. Steeler fan, you missed it last night. The Spiders, 16-4 or something like that. Spiders got win number 20 last night, live here on the channel. And my top sponsor for Spiders baseball was not in the house. So you had all these people storming Steeler fans' buggy whips on the corner of Smith and Main, and nobody was there to open the door. What a night it was last night. What a night it was. The Spiders had a big win last night here on the channel. That was fun. Oh, Bailey Zappi. That's right. I couldn't think of the name. Bailey Zappi is the guy for the Patriots that everybody wanted him to play until he lost his first game. Then it was like, bring Mac back. That's how it was. Excuse me. So protect the quarterback, yes, but protect the other players too. Tons of injuries, it seems. What to do? And that's the $1 million question is what do you do? What do you do? Again, do you want to see the third string quarterback play, or do you want to throw flags and protect the quarterback? I don't know what other choices we have. And midlife crisis, just looked it up. The in the grass rule was made less liberal in 91, and it changed to in the grasp and down if the QB's health was in jeopardy in the play. I still would like to go back to in the grasp. It's not flag football, but again, it's going to protect the quarterbacks. And again, I come home from work on a Sunday after being at the rink, and I sit down and I turn on the TV. It's like, I'm tired. I'm going to watch a little bit of football. Who do I want to watch? Do I want to watch the backup? Do I want to watch the third string guy? Or do I want to see the top guy in the team? Do I want to see the best quarterback out there? Do I want to see the best receiver? Do I want to see the best running back? Got to think about that. Got to think about that, folks. Wonder how many in the grass sacks the recording setting 84 beats had. The Eagles fell 2 shirts of tying this record. They try. Oh, too short. Okay, too short. Okay. Brady should go. I said that. I said that, Smelly Wrestling Geek. I said that Brady should go to a team that is really close. And I think the Vikings are really close. I do. There's a handful of teams that way. I don't want to see him go to a dog. I don't want to see him go to a team that's terrible. Neither do I want to see him go to the best team in the league. I don't want to see him it just didn't ever happen. Say, go to the Chiefs or the Bills because they're the first place team. I don't want to see that. But I said Vikings. I did. I said Brady should, and I almost wore my Vikings hat. I have one over there. Brady should go to the Vikings because I think that he's out of the division. He's still out there. He's not in his division anymore. And I think that would be a good division for him to be in. It's meme, not mem. How many years have we been fighting about this? Seriously, it's got to be since memes were invented that we've been fighting about the pronunciation for this. So you're not going to win the battle. You're just not going to win the battle. I'm telling you. Let's see. Curtis said, I believe you can see in video replay when the defensive player intentionally applies all the weight on the QB other player. Thinking Jalen Hurt during the tackle. In Hurt's case, his shoulder. Yeah. You can tell when the guys are driving him in. And I like that rule. You don't need to drive somebody in and hurt a shoulder and now the quarterback's done. You don't want that. You just don't want that. So I agree with that. COVID pushed the Buccaneers orange jersey to 2023. They need 12 to 18-month lead time to create and make them. Oh, is that what happened? I wanted Brady in the creamsicle so bad. That's my favorite jersey, favorite team. And when they switched to the pewter, I stopped following the Buccaneers. They won the Super Bowl too, and I just went, meh. They didn't win it in orange. There's something about when I go back on YouTube and I watch the old highlights, and they're in that, especially the whites, the road whites. They were so bad on the road that you see those road whites and you're just like, they don't have a chance. They're going to get killed. And it's fun watching that. It's just fun because it's part of history. Steve is stops by. Hello, Steve. Thanks for coming by and saying hi. So we just have a talk. We're kind of talking about football a little bit here tonight. I just jumped on real quick. I didn't think we'd be having a lively chat, but we do. A lot of people want to talk about this, so that's fantastic. Midlife crisis. I remember thinking how cool it looked when I was 6 when my brother's boyfriend brought over his Super Bowl electric football with the Vikings and the Raiders, the purple versus silver on the green field. Do you know, if you go on the YouTube, they have electric football leagues, and they've really worked these things out where they play a little bit better. And what you know what they do is they turn them on. I don't know how I used to play back in the day, but what they do, they turn them on for 3 seconds and turn them off. And the play kind of happens real slow, and then they decide if they want to throw it or what they're going to do. So it's very competitive, and it's very fun to watch, and I've seen it a little bit. And they replay famous games sometimes. It's kind of fun to watch. So electric football is very alive and well in 2023. But I had one as a kid, and they just went everywhere. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. We never really played that much, Let's see. Smelly Wrestling Geek. That's what they do in NHL All-Star games now. Just watch each other score. I need to open my window here. Excuse me 1 second, folks. I need to open my window. It's getting hot down here with all these lights. It's still not that hot, but it's still, after a while, it gets hot sitting in this chair. That's what they do in the NHL All-Star games. Just watch each other score. Yeah. Well, the All-Star games now, isn't it like the 3-on-3? They do that now instead, which was okay, but still nobody wants to get hurt in an All-Star game, especially in the midseason. Defenders watching off. It happened all the time in the 80s with Gretzky, too. Yeah, I would say that. Well, you couldn't hit Gretzky, or would get hit, or got flattened all the time. But Gretzky, you couldn't get near Gretzky, But Gretzky was good. You got to admit it. There was a funny story I saw on social media the other day. Who was it? It was one of the Maple Leafs, one of the tougher Maple Leafs. I think he had like a bent nose in the 70s. And it was for Toronto, and he flattened Bobby Orr in one game. Holy cow, you guys. Smelly Wrestling Geek, thank you so much. Steeler fan, thank you so much. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for helping me out here. We were too busy at Steeler fans Buggy Whiffs for me to watch the Spiders on the ticker, but you heard good news from Celebrated at Fanny's Brothel. That's awesome. And Smelly Wrestling Geek, I figured I'd join in a super chat party. Thank you for a great discussion. Yes, this has been a fantastic discussion. I really didn't think it would go. I shouldn't say you guys are always great, so I shouldn't doubt it, but I just was just coming on tonight to say hi and chatting a little bit here. But getting back to my Orr story, maybe it was Tiger Williams. Maybe that's who I'm thinking about. Anyway, one of the Maple Leafs, he had a little story. He says he leveled Bobby Orr in one game. And then the next game, they dropped the puck for the opening faceoff, and Terry O'Reilly got on him and started pounding him. And Wayne Cashin come over and started kicking him with his skate. And Terry O'Reilly says, "Stick your head in my body and I'll protect you from Cashman." So he did. And so O'Reilly was hitting him, but also protecting him from Wayne Cashman kicking him in the head, right? Funny story. So he said after that, he goes, "I had the utmost respect for O'Reilly. I always played him clean." He goes, "I would still hit him, but I would never cheap shot O'Reilly after that." So it was kind of a very, very funny story. Holy cow. Tom L. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much. You guys are great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All the support you guys give me and give the show and the whole bit. So where were we here? Because if you touch Gretzky, they get mugged by Masol. Yeah. But that's the way to do it. And before him, Semenko. Yep. That's the way to do it is to have those guys come in and protect your superstars. That's how you had to do it in the 80s. And I don't have any problem with that. I really don't. I do remember another Mario Lemieux story. I forget who it was that was telling the story about they come in after the summer and they had their first preseason game of the year. And this guy sat down next to Mario Lemieux, So it must have been in the 80s. And he says, he goes, man, I've been working all summer. I've been training and off ice skating and really working hard so I could be in shape this year. And Mario looked at the guy and goes, I haven't put on a pair of skates since the playoffs. And they went out in the preseason game, and Lemieux scored 5 goals. And they come back in the locker room, and this guy goes, I worked my all summer long, and Lemieux doesn't put on a pair of skates. And he puts them on. He scores 5 goals in his first game back. I mean, some guys just have it. Let's just face what it is. It's not fair. It's not fair how good they are. Remember Jimmy the Greek? Oh my gosh, Jimmy the Greek. That whole thing there. I remember that Irv Cross and Brent Musburger. That wasn't that great when they had the I used to like when they put it up and they had the side by side. It'd be like, quarterback and special teams and intangibles, and they have a check mark on either side. I used to love that. That was the best. That really was. But Jimmy the Greek mentioned the athlete is faster and stronger then, but got lambasted for that. And yet, ironically enough, that's what's happening today. It could be. That could be a part of it. Cleveland baseball fan stops by. Had a Spiders win last night here on the channel. They got 20 wins. The Spiders are on fire, as we like to say. Steve Tate coming in. The fact that you don't really know what would happen with a cross-era matchup makes it fun. The what if. And that's a very good point, Steve. Because we were talking about the cross-era matchup. Like, what would happen if the team from the 50s played a team from modern day? What would happen? It's the classic what if. And the answer is there's no answer. There really is. There's really no answer to that question, right? Because that would never happen. And we talked about the equipment and the training and the money and all that other stuff. And it's just 2 different eras of sports. It's 2 different lifestyles. You think about like car racing. Look at the cars today, how fine-tuned they are and how light they are, and the tires and all the technology and years of studying and computer simulations that go into racing compared to 30 or 40 years ago. You grab a car from 30, 40 years ago and you put them with a modern car. I'd like to think the modern car is going to win every time. And I'm not dumping on back then, but it's not fair because of the technology. You know what I mean? But it is a what if. Eddie Ballgame, the simplest way to compare players from different eras is via normalization. The more numbers that have more accurate depiction of you can generate as long as the gaming mechanics is viable. Yeah, the normalization is key. There's a lot of games that do have the normalization. But again, you got a football team from the 50s that can only hit a 35-yard field goal, and you got a team from this year who can hit 65 yards. It's a different game. You get this quarterback from the 50s who threw 3 passes a game, and this guy who throws 43 a game. This football is probably really harder to compare because it's such a different game. Now, baseball, I would think, would be the one sport that would be fair because baseball really hasn't changed. I think, the technology in baseball, I mean, it's a bat and a ball is what it is. It really is. It's a bat and a ball. So that's kind of been it's been very similar for many years. So I would think baseball would be the one to play the 20s and 30s against the modern day teams because it's bat and ball, I that's just kind of, throwing that out there. I'm finding that if I'm playing a game that I find statistically accurate, if I'm not playing a what if, it feels pedestrian for me anymore, whether it's cross era or not. Well, like I say, it's when you're playing cross era, it is a what if. And sometimes it can be fun, to say, hey, this team beat this team. And, I need to do more of that because I should check out the cross era stuff. We should do a show on cross era. We really should, if we haven't already. 167 episodes. We've talked about just about everything. But we still find more stuff to talk about. Yes, we just talked about that. That's why the baseball sims are arguably the easiest and most accurate to generate realistic results. It's batting the ball. Batting the ball. Dom chimes in. Baseball is the only true sport that you can pit teams from different eras. I would agree with that. Now thinking that maybe basketball, but again, basketball gets back into the training and the strength of these guys. I mean, you look at the muscles on some of these guys in the NBA, right? And back in the day, you look at Bird and Magic, they were all thin little guys. Even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was tall, but he was lanky. Nowadays, these guys are jacked and they got the tattoos everywhere. And it's like, oh my gosh. So basketball, maybe. I think hockey and football would be the hardest, but baseball, I think, would be the fairest one of them all. Am I the fairest one of them all? Even if I'm not playing crosshair, I still find a what if more interesting. When I do what ifs, I like to do teams that maybe didn't make the playoffs or the finals, or two different teams. So it's like, okay, I'm going to take the World Series, but instead of this team and this team, I'm going to go this team and this team. So it's a what if of the series. Or what I like to do is I like to get real crazy sometimes and put players on different teams. And I've moved, I remember the first one I did is I put Reggie Jackson on the Red Sox, right? And I had a whole story behind why he went to the Red Sox. And I played a little bit. That was fun. It was fun. And I forget where I am in that one there, but that was many years ago I did that. That was one of the first what ifs I did. And then I think that was that Baseball Mogul I did that, or Action PC? I forget which one it was, but I traded Reggie to the Red Sox just for fun. And then I did Football Mogul. One of my first things I did was 1976. I swapped Grogan and Stabler. So Grogan was on the Raiders, Stabler was on the Patriots. And I want to see how that worked out. So when I play what if, I either play a different playoff series, or I tend to move guys around is what I do. I don't really do the cross era stuff, which I think I need to do. After this discussion now, you guys have kind of got me thinking now that I should play some cross era stuff and play some old teams, like some of my Apple hockey back here. I got some 30s and 40s that I should play. I think it might be kind of fun. You guys have talked me into it. Damn it, you guys. Now I got to go buy more seasons. Midlife crisis. Even if I'm not playing crosshair, I still find what if more. Okay, we just talked about that. So that's the one we were talking about. How much of the difference in a greater than 50-yard field goal accuracy is due not to just better kickers, but way better field conditions? Yeah, we talked about that too, is how the fields were all chewed up, and if it rained, it was just a mud field. And nowadays, like I say, everything's self-draining, and the domes and the whole bit. Yeah. So I mean, so the field conditions absolutely come into play on field goals, because everything was outdoors back in the day. It really was. Could the 60-yard bombers of today do it in the mud pits of Cleveland in the 60s? The answer to that is no. If you're outside in the mud, you're not kicking that 60 yards. You're not even trying to. So yeah, so the field, that's a really good point. That's one of the things we talked about here. So, yep, there it is. Oh, see, Smaybach, good to see you here. Good to talk to you. I did further your point. Sure. Training is certainly different. Fields, equipment, and rules are different, but I believe the mentality and expectations are much more different too. I think it's more of a business now. And if that's where you're going with that, but it's a very different way of looking at it. And there's no loyalty anymore. It's what have you done for me lately? So you think of guys used to play forever back in the day when they were young. Now it's next man up. And contracts disputes and things like that. So there's a lot of things that, and I know some of it happened back in the day, but it seems like it's more nowadays. So it's very different. Yeah, the mentality and expectations are much more different. I would throw that in there as well. I would. That's a good one. And Joseph C comes by. Blast from the past. His hockey skates were Bauer Supremes and then upscaled to Lang. I think we had the Black Panthers back in the day. That's what they were called. Black Panthers skates, I think they were. My father had a pair of skates that I borrowed from him when I first started playing, and they were kangaroo. They were made out of kangaroo. Don't ask me how, but he told me that. I don't think he was kidding me. He said that they were made out of kangaroo, and I used to borrow them when I first started playing. And that was the old style with the blade with a little curl on it. That's what it was. But yes, we used to have some crazy skates back in the day. I looked at goalie skates. My goalie skates back in the day, they were flat, and they had some little things sticking up so the puck wouldn't go through. Now, goalie skates look like forward skates, and they have that hole that the puck can go through. I'm like, why aren't you blocking that off? You turn your skate to make a save, and that puck's going to go right through there. I saw some goalie skates the other day, and they're so different. They're so different. My Little League football coach, Big Al Bowden, would limp in to coach us after work. I only learned of the obituary that Big Al suffered a knee injury in college when Rosie Greer fell on his leg. Ooh, well, that's too bad. Midlife, speaking of baseball rules, I love the baseball scene. Adam Sandler, Ridiculous Six, when they meet Avnet Doubleday, and he literally makes up the rules as they go. That would be pretty fun. That would be pretty funny. See, Don, what do you got? Is it true that the goalie is one of the best skaters on the team, if not the best? I was always told the goalie should be the best skater on the team. That's what I was always told, because you can't be falling down out there and allowing goals. So you gotta skating goalie is so different because you don't go that far. You come out, you go back, you're doing a lot of, you're going out and then you're coasting back and you're sliding over here and then you're sliding over here. Nowadays you're sliding on the ground. Back in the day, we didn't dare go down because we didn't have the pads that way. So you would hit your knee on the ice. And then everything up here you would get hurt. So if you look at the goalies back in the day, they would tighten up like this and stand up and hope they would hit their leg pads. That's like how many Bobby Orr shots I looked and the goalie goes like this, puts his pads together, and just hopes that it hits him down low. No one ever went down the butterfly. Tony Esposito did that a little bit, but no one ever went down. It was too dangerous because you had nothing here and your face either was no mask or a bad mask. So goaltending is so much different nowadays. That's why goalies are always down, flat on the ice. In fact, the goalie pads now, when I bought the set of pads years ago, I said, how are these goalies going down on their knees so much? They built in something. So if this is your goalie pad facing it, they have something here. So when you go down, your knee lands on this. So your knee never hits the ice. So they have this thing, it's called a knee roll or knee pad. I don't know what it is, but it's on the inside of your knee. So when you go down, you land on the pad. Your knee never touches the ice. And so when they did that and they made the pads better and here better, now everyone's on the ground. So it's a different style. But yes, goalies have to be the best skater on the team. That's what I was told. Although when I stopped playing goalie in 94, I started skating out. I was terrible. I had a real hard time skating out because I was so used to just staying in the crease, going into the corner, going back to the net. And now I'm going all the way down there. You mean I'm going all the way down there? Oh man. I couldn't do it. It took me quite a while to get being able to skate the length of the ice. It really did. Let me see. Scott, Bananas baseball rules are fun to watch. Oh, is that team that has like the guy in the stilts hitting, and if you walk, they have to throw it to everybody on the field, and you got to try to get a home run or something. That's fun. I like that little spin on baseball. I really, really do. P-Jet. He says, Dom, I was a good skater in goal. I could outrace many players in backward sprints. Yeah, backwards I could do pretty well because you do all that. But skating out for long distances after being in net, I couldn't do that. Couldn't do it. Smelly Wrestling Geek. I don't care for hockey shootouts either. Yeah, they had their time and it wasn't long. They need to move on for that. They really, really do. Curtis, I do the same thing with soccer. When it comes down to determining game via shootout, I turn it off. Can't stand shootout. Yeah. Didn't they just determine was it the World Cup of soccer that they had? I don't know. I don't know soccer. And wasn't that done in shootouts? And I guess that's kind of what the sport is. But that was shootouts, wasn't it? And it's like, oh. I just saw people saying what a stupid way to end it, Tom L. Hockey was at its best ever in the 70s. The mystique of the Soviet players was a big part of it. Yeah, you know something, Tom? You know what's in this box right here? Hockey Bones. It's the 72 Summit Series. I got to do an unboxing. And this box has been sitting in Studio A, which is over here. It's been sitting in Studio A since before Christmas. Because I've been working so much, and then I had COVID at Christmas and things like that I have not had a chance to pull them out and even unbox it to see if they're in there. I don't even know what's in the box, but I ordered a few things, so I got to see what's in the box. But you will be seeing, and I think Strat had that too. So I have Strat and I have Hockey Bones, both with the 72 Summit Series. So you will be seeing Summit Series here on this channel. I guarantee it. And that was a good time. Let me see. Turbo, regarding players hiding injuries, no one wants to be Wally Pipped. I'm not sure who Wally Pip is, but yeah, you don't want to be the guy hurt because they're going to go to the next guy and then you could lose your job. Bobby Holly used to say that newer pads made players feel invincible. I would agree with that. Yep, I would say that is absolutely right. Dom, again, thank you so much, Dom, for the super chat. Any chance I'd want to play fantasy baseball? No, not really, King Twan. I don't play much. I don't even play fantasy football, and I don't know anything about baseball. So I don't do much of the fantasy stuff at all. If I do anything, they're supposed to be legalizing gambling here in my state. If I did anything, I used to like to play the football card back in the 80s. Where you pick 4 teams against the spread, and you bet $1 and you can win what was it, $10 or something like that. I think I won once. But it's just the idea that you watch the game, you follow your teams. But I never get into the fantasy anything. I never get into fantasy football. I tried to play fantasy hockey one time, and it was such a daily grind. I just kind of gave up. In fact, I was in the we did a digital to dice pick 'em pool where you just pick the winners every week. And I got through to about week 11. And then I looked down and I was like, I was in third place. Why am I in 15th place? Well, because I hadn't picked teams in 3 weeks. So I just kind of gave up on that. So I'm good for, like I say, 5 or 10 weeks, and then I sputter out with any of that stuff. So I appreciate the offer, but I don't play much fantasy. Tom to Tom from PJ. I love 70s, which I grew up with. Plus, I like bad teams. Me and PJ, we just love playing bad teams. Scouts, SEALs, Capitals. I don't know what it is. But we've had many discussions on that. But I have to admit, the gap between the top teams and the bottom teams was greater than any other decade. The bad teams were real bad. Yes, they were. They were. And a lot of that, and I need to get the guy from the Scouts on here. I read a book called Icing on the Plains. It was about the Kansas City Scouts. And I'm trying to get the guy on the show so I can interview him about his book and about 70s hockey, right? But at the time, he said I could only do it on the phone because he didn't have a computer or something. And I think he had like a rotary phone or something. He's a really older guy. And so I was like, we'll have to work something out. I keep bugging him about getting him on the show. But, reading his book really emphasized that when you got an expansion team, they didn't want you to succeed. Look what happened with the Vegas Knights, right? So the Vegas Knights, well, they go to Stanley Cup Finals. It was so different with Vegas than it was with Kansas City or Washington or any of those teams, especially in the mid 70s. If you come in as a new team, maybe not the Islanders and the Flames, maybe not so much, but when the Scouts and the Capitals come in, everybody could protect, what was it, like 20 players? So you were getting guys that barely made the team, and that's going to be your first line. So how do you think you're going to do? You're going to get destroyed. And they did. And it was laughable. In fact, Kansas City lasted 2 years and they couldn't bring, so you get a new team, they get destroyed. So after the novelty wears off in year one, no one's coming back to watch a team get killed. And that's one thing that the NHL really didn't take into account. And they charged a lot of money for these teams. And if you were bad, you didn't make it. And they were okay with that. So I don't even know why they brought in expansion teams if they were going to just let you float away, I got to close my window. Now it's getting cold in here. Excuse me 1 second. There we go. So again, I don't know why they did that to those 70s teams. But yeah, so like PJ had said, the best were the best and the worst were the absolute worst. Nowadays, just about anybody could beat anybody. Even some of the bad teams could, but not back then. Around the layout, a podcast wants to use bubble wrap. That might work. Let's see. On Brady scrambling, not that anyone would ever confuse Brady with Lamar Jackson, even 20 years, but now at age 45, you can time Brady with a sundial. Well, yeah, you can. Yeah, at 45, you could. But look at Lamar Jackson. Isn't he hurt? And how old is he? And how old is Brady? Brady plays a smart game, And yes, going back to Brady going to the Vikings and in a Super Bowl win, I would love Brady going to the Vikings and win the Super Bowl. I really would. What I hoped for when Brady left New England, I was going to hope he was going to go to Vegas because they had that brand new stadium. And how cool that would be. Las Vegas Raiders, new team, new stadium, Tom Brady. That I thought would be great. That didn't happen. Instead, he went to Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl. So I guess that works out, ID stops by. Thanks for coming by, ID. I've been watching some of your stuff there. I saw you playing some NPNG baseball. Was that it? NPNG baseball? I think that's what you were playing. I was watching some of that before I come on here tonight. It's very Apple-like. It was very interesting. Sorry, I just needed a little break here. And then we had these are the super chats. Thank you so much, Steeler fan. Yeah, we were too busy at Steeler fans buggy whips for me to watch the Spiders on the ticker. The Spiders were on fire last night. You missed them on the ticker. You really did. Tom L. as well. Thank you so much, Tom. It's very appreciated. Thank you so much. Smelly Wrestling Geek. Thank you, Smelly Wrestling Geek, so much. See, around the layout podcast. Too bad Brady can't go to Green Bay. Imagine him going to Green Bay and winning the Super Bowl, how Rodgers would feel. Did you hear what Rodgers said? I think Gronk was talking about it, and Aaron Rodgers is like, my goal is be an MVP. And Gronk's like, my goal is to win the Super Bowl. So, yeah. Yeah. So he's single now. Oh, what happened to was it Olivia Munn that he was with? He goes out with celebrities all the time. He's an old man now, too. He should start thinking about settling down. So he's single now, and it's not far from Sudbury, and there's an impossible amount of good-looking girls in Sudbury. Yes, there is. There is. I heard there's a lot of good-looking girls in Sudbury. Season 2 of Shoresy has been officially brought up. So, yeah, I can't wait to watch that. And Jester is in the house here. Smelly Wrestling. It's the great thing about hockey, in my opinion, having enforcers to protect the star players. Yep. I'm okay with that. I don't like fighting, but yeah, if you're going to go after a star player, then yeah, it really is. Still can see Pat Quinn hitting Bobby. Oh, yeah, it was devastating. That and Ted Green, Wayne Mackey stick fight. Both incidents. I never saw the Green Mackey. That was in a preseason game. I remember seeing the photo of Mackey hitting Green over the head and Green laying on the ice. That was pretty scary, those photos. They were all black and white back in the day. And I was like, oh, man, that was something else. Lemieux scored on the first shot ever, first NHL shift. Yeah. You know who that was against? The Boston Bruins in Boston Garden. Yeah, that's what that. I watched that opening night, sitting at the bar, wherever I was. I might have been at the ground round or something. Goes in and scores. Great. 1-0 Pittsburgh. You know. So, and Don says, PJ, thanks for the feedback. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, PJ's got some great videos. Yeah, PJ does some good stuff on his channel. I love watching his hockey stuff on there. He plays some different hockey games and some of the stuff that I play too. But yeah, PJ is really fun to watch on his channel. I can't wait to see his Stone Cold Hockey videos because he's playing Stone Cold Hockey. I want to see him playing that. I don't know what I like better, the cards and dice of the PC. The PC is great because you can play the game a little bit quicker, and then the other games are simulated, right? But that game, rolling dice in that game is really fun too. It really is. I don't know what I like better, the cards and dice of the PC, but I want to see some of that on your channel. I really do. Turbo's getting back to the motorsports technological improvements, especially in open wheel racing. He says it's amazing. The 2022 Indy 500 fastest qualifying field in the history of the event, field average of 231 miles an hour. Yeah, I think everything is like that. You know, everything is just bigger, better, faster. You know, or maybe not bigger. Maybe it's sometimes it's smaller, better, faster, but everything is so different, you know. I have a Twitch channel. I don't use it much. I think it's just called Ratcast on Twitch. I mostly use it just to go watch Ron play. I don't stream much to Twitch anymore. If I usually go to YouTube, it's just easier. Although the only thing is that the Twitch, what's I going to say? The Twitch streaming chat is faster, so things happen much faster. And I'm off to the side here. I got to do something real quick here. We had Steve Tower just come into the chat room. Around the layout with Steve Tower. So in honor of Steve Tower, I'm going to put up the replay, the rare plays here for a minute. So I'm just going to talk for a minute behind the rare play sheet in honor of Steve Tower, who played a fantastic game of season ticket baseball the other night that we could see most of. But there was quite a bit of the night that the rare play chart just got in the way a little bit. So in honor of Steve Tower, I'm sorry, Steve. You knew it was coming, Steve. You knew it was coming. We've all done that. We've all left stuff on the screen. Oh, that's too funny. Eddie Ballgame. I'm quite sure that the great athletes of the past would do just fine today with the same conditioning program. Of course, the money incentives would encourage that as well. Yep. I think, like I said, you grab people from the past, pay millions of dollars, give them today's equipment, tell them they can train all year long. You know? So guys like, Bobby Hull and the Sutter brothers don't have to go back to Moose Jaw and bale hay all summer with the family, right? If they could play hockey all year, imagine. And you paid $50 for your goalie skates in 1991. His dad paid for the goalie skates. And the goalie pads is called the knee cradle. I wasn't sure what that was, but there was something in there that you could hit the ground with. Any team that still allows the spaceman to pitch is okay in my books. Go bananas. Yeah. He was. Bill Lee was pitching for the Bananas. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Wally Pipp took a day off because of a headache. The guy who took a spot in the lineup was Lou Gehrig. Ooh, Wally Pipp. He could be my new favorite player now. Wally Pipp. I was playing the Washington Senators last night against the Spiders, and there was some great names. That 1899 season, there's so many good names. Dummy Hoy. This other guy was Win something. There's a general. We have a Crazy Schmidt. I mean, there's so many just awesome names from 1899. I need to assemble all those names and create an all-star team is what I really need to do. Wally Pipp was the guy Lou Gehrig replaced. And went on, okay. And yeah, Turbo beat you to it. Yep. Dave Little stopping by. Speaking about haters, we were just talking about haters, Dave. No, we weren't. Sportsman Z comes by. Good to see you, Sportsman Z. I was watching your hockey game the other day, Cards and Dice Strat Hockey. I was watching you play that. In fact, I put it on last night when I went to bed because I was zipping around. I went to satellite radio. There was nothing on satellite radio. Nobody was really live last night, late at night. So I saw that you had played a hockey game. So I put that on and I listened to that when I went to bed last night. So that's what I do. I go to YouTube and see if anybody in the community has uploaded a video, and I'll go and I'll listen at night. Midlife. The way the Flyers are treated as an expansion team, getting beat to hell, is the reason the Broad Street Bullies came to be. Great documentary on the Bullies. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I think I might have seen that one there. Yeah, it was crazy how quick the Flyers actually got to the cup and to the final. Same with the Sabres. The Sabres come in 70-71, and they were in the finals in what, 74-75. So they moved up pretty quick too. But then you get some teams that just never did anything. You know, like the Atlanta Flames are always like a steady team, and then when I think they got to the playoffs a couple of times, but they never could do anything. And then the Islanders, they got good and they went on their run. That was incredible. The Islanders, you know. So yeah, hi to Dave Little. When's the next epic basketball season starting? Hopefully soon. Rob Bryant stopping by. Robert Bryant, sorry. And PJ's going to do a Stone Cold video. That's great. That's great. Thank you so much. To be determined. Life's taking a new direction soon. We'll keep you all posted. All righty. I think Dave said instead of playing basketball, he's going to replay one of the Tom Brady seasons. So look for Dave Little on the Dave Little YouTube channel, playing some football with Tom Brady. And Grateful Daddy, thank you so much. You guys have been unbelievable tonight with the super chats. Thank you so much. It's unbelievable. I just come on tonight just to say hi, but we've had such a good chat tonight. Holy cow. Just talking a little bit about football and injuries and things like that. It's been very, very good. That's Steve. Accepting application for a new producer. The producer you have now is just not cutting it, you know? Those responsible for transitions has been sacked. It was kind of funny because we're all trying to get your attention in the chat, and it's so hard because when you're streaming, there's so many things going through your mind, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and I've done that too. Last night I was trying to find somebody's card, and I'm pulling up all these cards. Oh, look at this guy! Look at this guy! And I looked on the screen on my phone from my monitor, and I still had me on. I didn't have the game on, so I had to put the game on and show people what I was talking about. You know. Did a moose bite your sister? I don't know. Maybe he did. And Grateful Daddy, 1969. On the hockey in the 70s, he was 10. And he went to New York City for holiday stuff. And he talked his dad into seeing the Bruins at MSG. That was the Terry O'Reilly and crew went into the stand. That was 79. So you were at the game that O'Reilly went in the stands. Is that nuts? That's nuts. Imagine that. I've never met anybody that's at that game. That's so cool that you were at that game. That went in this. So what did you think? All right. So he says he was 10 years. Damn, that was exciting. Yeah. So like expand on that. So you're sitting in there and all of a sudden they go climb. And how far away with you too? I mean, were you across the rink? Were you anywhere as close? I mean, that must have been nuts. You know, that was just. And I don't even know how they broke it up. I don't know if the linesmen got up there, if the police got there, but yeah. And he said this actual video of that, considering how few home games are saved on film. Yeah, that is really wow. The only thing that might top that is it wouldn't top it, but remember when we had Mark on for Digital Diamond, and He said, when we asked him, like, what game would you attend? He said he'd want to go back to the Pine Tar game with George Brett because he was at the game as a kid with his uncle, and his uncle made him leave. They wanted to leave early to beat traffic, and they missed the Pine Tar event. So imagine if you left and didn't see that. Imagine that. Imagine you left and you get home and you find out they went into the stands, and that was one of the more historic events in hockey history at Madison Square Garden, and you left. That's how Mark felt when he left Yankee Stadium. RJL stopping by. Yeah, we were just having a chat. It started off as just as Robert is there too, Robert Bryant. We were just chatting about football and injuries and how to avoid it, and you know, it really stinks that people are getting hurt. But do you want to keep throwing flags for the quarterback? But the alternative is to having your third string quarterback start a playoff game. So we're talking about injuries, and that turned into some hockey stuff and football stuff. We started talking cross-era gameplay and the whole bit. It's been a little bit of everything tonight. It's been probably the best chat I've had here on the channel. So Grateful Daddy, who was at the 1979 game where Milbury and O'Reilly went into the stands at Madison Square Garden, he says, pure luck. It was scary at first because it's so unexpected. You were about 4 sections to the right of it all. Just to see it was wild. The video is worth a look for sure. Yep. Well, back then, the glass was a lot shorter too. Like if you look back in the day, the linesmen used to climb the glass and get up and get out of the way. Now the glass is super high, so that would never happen, But yeah, that was nuts. Yeah, Bernard, thank you so much. This has been a great time tonight. I do need to wrap this up shortly though, because I do need to get to bed because I do need to be at the rink tomorrow. But this was a good one here, and I'm hoping I'll be around tomorrow and Sunday to play something. I want to get some hockey going here. Maybe I'll get the hockey bones out, although I got to brush up on that because I'll be making all kinds of mistakes. I haven't played bones in about 6 months before my concussion, actually. Either that or I'll break out the APA. Maybe a cross-era APA hockey game. That might be kind of fun. So that might be something to think about. And yeah, the video is on YouTube. Yeah, I've seen that a handful of times. NHL Network plays it. I don't know how much they play it anymore because I think that embarrasses them a little bit. But they did. They would play that clip every now and then. But I know it's nothing they want. They're not proud of that clip, And Milbury still takes heat for that. He does. Milbury's on the radio all the time here in Boston, by the way, talking hockey, and he somehow, some way, somebody's always got to bring that up. And I think he hates talking about it, But anyway, all right. So I'm throwing this out here. Thanks for the chat. Yeah. Any final thoughts when we wrap this up here on this Friday night? So any final thoughts here before we go? What do you want to bring up as far as injuries? What can we do to prevent people from getting injured in football? And again, where do you draw the line between throwing a flag for roughing the quarterback and allowing the quarterback to get hit and hurt? So, and even in hockey, what do we draw the line between, somebody gets hit and if he's hurt, he gets a 5-minute major, he's kicked out of the game. But if he's not hurt, then everything's fine. We just play on. So, I mean, we want to protect people from getting hurt, but we're playing violent sports. So before we go, yeah, any last words about that? And even cross-era games. I like that. I think I'm going to try that. I think a cross-era game might be kind of fun just to see what happens, right? Just to see what happens. And I'm going to do it cards and dice too. I don't think I want to do it on the computer. I want to do a cards and dice one. I think I'm going to do that. So, but we've had a lot of good suggestions here, and technology, money, training, all that comes into play. It really does, and so it's all things we need to talk about here. So Steeler fan, thanks for coming by. Yeah, the Bruins are tearing it up. I can't watch hockey on TV for a couple reasons. One is I grew up listening to it on the radio, so I prefer listening to hockey on the radio. Secondly, those board ads. Guy skating up the ice, and all of a sudden, behind him's moving in 100 different directions. It's such a distraction, and it's so bright. It's like if you want to have the boards digitally imposed, then wait for a whistle for the animation. Okay, let me concentrate on hockey. I want to watch the hockey game. I don't want to be distracted. Okay, I want to watch the hockey game. When the goalie makes a save, the puck goes out of play, Whistle goes. Have your animations. Have them run around. I don't care what you do. When the game comes, stop. It's like, it's like you got to turn the music off when the game plays. You hear all this music, and then, puck drops, music stops. Board should stop. Board should not move. Whatever adds on there is on there. That's not going to change till the next whistle. But they keeps changing and moving, and just race cars racing around. A guy skating up the ice and a race car goes by him. What am I going to watch? So no, I can't watch hockey on TV anymore. I just can't do it. So I keep an eye on the Bruins. I check in. I get the scores. I listen on the radio, but I can't watch on TV. I just can't. I just can't anymore. But yeah, thanks, PJ. Thanks, everybody. You guys have been great. And thank you so much for the super chats. Holy cow. It's been a long time since I got a super chat, but thank you so much. It makes all this worth. You guys enjoy it. We have a great time in the chat, and you're willing to support us here. And like I said, I just got all my new lights in here, so I am trying to upgrade the studio with the support that you guys give me here. You like cards and dice better? It depends on the game, Robert. There's some games I do like the cards and dice better, and there's some games that I really do prefer playing on the PC. And it's just a personal thing to me. It really is. Yep. And David C, thanks for coming by. Yeah, I have to play some flag football. Yeah, I'd be okay with that if I could see the top players play. Don't get me wrong. I love a good hit in hockey and football, but I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I hate that. I really do. Bill stops by. Oh, let's see. Any vintage hockey fans? My wife found Fatheads wall decals, Nordiques and North Stars. Ooh, at the Fanatics site. Really? Nordiques. They both would be good. Are those big ones, Bill? Are those big honking ones that go on the wall? Yeah, I should check that out. Steve Tower, thanks for coming by. And so, yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap that up here. This has been super. Had a good time. I've gone through 3 bottles of water and Gatorade over here. So I'm going to be headed to the bathroom all night long. The wife's going to be like, hey, you're getting up again. It's like, I've had 3 of these. I've had 3 of these. Of course, I'm going to be going to the bathroom all night long. That's what happens when you get old. And yes, this is a good one here. We need to do these more often. I was going to try to find a guest on tonight, but I just kind of jumped on, and we had just had a good time here. So anyway, hey, so I'm Dave. This is Studio B, and I had a great chat here on January 20th, this Friday night, and I hope to see you guys this weekend. I'll be playing something. Real tempted to pull out that app of some cross-era hockey. Now that I'm done talking here, I'm going to have to go look over there and find something to play and dig out the app and set it up. And I am going to do a video. I'm going to set up a camera like back over here somewhere. I think it'd be fun to do, even for myself, to have as an archive, and just film me setting up how I set up an Apple hockey stream, because it takes me about a half hour to set up to do Apple hockey, and you'd be amazed at everything you don't see off a camera. So I think it might be kind of fun to do a behind the scenes thing here, and maybe I'll give it to the Patreons first, and then I'll release it to everybody else, of the patrons of the show. So anyway, only 3 left for the stars. If you want to get that sticker, I might have to go check that out. So anyway, and thank you, Turbo. Yeah, if you guys hit the like button, that would be much appreciated. And so we've had a good time. And Midlife says best thing to go was the nightly fire chats. Yeah, we did that for I think we did that for 6 or 8 weeks, every night for 6 or 8 weeks, and that was fantastic. That really was. That was unbelievable. Going back and seeing that, and what we know now compared to what we knew then. But at the time, it was pretty scary. And I was out of work. I had no money. That sucked. That they shut hockey down. Everything I do involves hockey. Everything I do involves hockey. And I was out of work, and being self-employed, they didn't want to give me any money. Everyone else was sitting home. I got very little because I was self-employed. Not fair to me, but I knew I was. ID gonna play some season. Yeah, do that, because I'm gonna crash and I want to listen to something tonight. So I will definitely listen to ID playing some season ticket tonight. So, and if anybody wants to listen to some baseball, watch some baseball tonight, go check out ID's gonna run some season ticket. One of my favorite baseball games. But yeah, it was weird that, and I knew I was one of the few that slipped through the cracks. So I didn't complain all that much, because it's like I was a very unique case where everyone that worked 9 to 5 did quite well. Other people kept their jobs. I was in the middle. I was neither. So I just have to wing it. But anyway, so all righty. So we will talk to everybody later. I got to get back to hockey, but I'm so addicted to this 1979 baseball season between pocket pennant and season ticket. I'm bouncing back and forth. I'd like to find a third game to play. If Strat had the cards, I'd buy the cards for Strat and play Strat, but they don't have the cards for 79. I have 80, but not in 79. So anyway, I have been playing Payoff Pitch too. But I need a cheat sheet for that. I think there was one on the Facebook site that I got to print out that looked pretty good. So anyway, all righty. Whew, that was a long one. I didn't expect to go over 2 hours. I expect just kind of jump on and talk about football stuff, but we had a very good discussion. I've said that 10 times now because I'm getting tired. So anyway, I'm going to jump out now. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.